disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be alright, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
Let's just kill those fucking men.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. Got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
The intro here because I'm just trying to get a couple of things together. Phone lines are open, by the way, people. Shout out to everybody out there. Thank you for your patience. This is the BDA Boxing Podcast, the Boxing Debate Arena, broadcasting to you live from the true north. I'm flying solo for the moment. Many more people. Actually, Bucho's here. Bucho, there? Well, actually, yeah, pretty sure he is. But anyway, listen, we're gonna talk about last night's fight, the continuation. We'll talk about, if the Gonzalez Estrada thing gets a little bit stale, I suppose we'll talk about something else. But there's just a lot to say about that fight. There's some people whose opinions we didn't get to hear last night, some voices. Phone lines are open. Again, we did do a show for quite a long time last night, from about 1 a.m. to 4 in the morning. So I understand not everyone is awake at that time. Fellas, if you want to get the gravy train rolling and make boxing great again, you can do so by donating with the super chat. You can also do it at the Patreon page, the BDA Patreon page, or the PayPal page. But of course, the most important thing is that you continue to like and subscribe. That is what we look forward to the most. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. I'm talking about Throw Ballins, Brown Gun, Christopher Roman, SSB28, Jonathan Morrison, Hard Recoil, Mickey BZ, Blues Boxing, Joshua Palencia, Recognize the Matrix, shout out to Recognize, Full of Hate, Andres Fernandez, Virtuoso, Bingo, Carlos Mendoza, Iceman, Thomas Moreland, and many more people to come, I'm sure. Guys, thank you for joining us. Well, let's get right down to it. Butcher, you want to start off, or you want me to begin the...
Start off.
Yeah. I'm looking at a lot of streams. I went on Ring TV, the comment section. I went over to Boxing Scene, the message boards, Sherdog, the boxing section, a whole bunch of sources. Most people agree Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez won the fight. Some are going farther and saying that it was a robbery. And I've heard some people, the minority, saying, "Oh, it wasn't that bad." Again, we're gonna get into that. How bad was it? And I want to hear from people. That's why we open up the phone lines. It appears to me that it was a competitive fight. This is what I said last night as well. I thought Gonzalez won. I went with the old Max Kellerman adage that who would you rather have been at the end of each round and at the end of the fight? And I believe that Juan Francisco Estrada knew that he didn't win the fight. His body language, these guys are pros. They know that if it's a close fight or at least a competitive fight, they can always throw their hands in the air and make it seem as if they thought they won the fight. Their coaches and their promoters tell them that. Hey, put your hands up, smile, make it seem as if you won the fight. But it seems to me like he knows he didn't win the fight. Shout out to Recognize the Matrix for his generous contribution via the super chat. He says, salute to the BDA crew. Hey, really appreciate it, Recognize. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you. And if you can jump in later on, that'd be fantastic as well. Although I'm not forcing him, obviously. But listen, the Estrada Gonzalez fight. So there's a lot of people out there that are saying that this was a robbery. Now, Bucho, it's interesting because sometimes if you don't share the same, what's the word I'm looking for? The same reaction of really saying, "Oh, I'm disgusted," and blah blah blah. People assume that you're okay with the decision. My point of view is, look, if you're gonna get angry, do something about what you're angry about. Take some action. Every little bit helps. But it seems to me like some people just want to bitch, moan, and then they'll go back to watching boxing or some other sport and surfing the internet. My thing is this: I'm not gonna get angry. I don't have to get angry. I'm not going to get angry and not do anything about it. We have a platform here. We can do a little something. And so I think it's interesting, or I think it's important rather, to point out once again who the guy responsible for this, or largely responsible for this whole thing was, and that is Carlos Sucre. Because look, if you want to have a 115-113 for Estrada, hey, it's not the worst decision I would ever see, but it's a bad decision. But okay, it's seemingly forgivable compared to what this fucking guy, Carlos Sucre. You can find his information on BoxRec, fellas. It's the internet. There's a paper trail everywhere now with the internet, and you can see if you go to BoxRec all the fights that he's.
The receipts. I got some receipts.
That's right. I got the receipts, baby. Yo, we got the receipts. You got the receipts. You know who this guy is. He's from Florida, born in Venezuela. I found an article last night while we were doing the show. I put it up on the screen. If I find it, I'll post it again. Where somebody was decrying an old decision that he made. So it's not the first time he's gone this way. This fucking guy. Also, Pete provided us a screenshot of the scorecards last night, and I'm going to be showing it here on the screen. Hold on a second. Where is it? The scorecards. So again, Carlos Sucre. Remember the name. Everybody out there that has a platform, keep bringing this name up. They won't be able to use him again because people are going to be watching out for him like they do with Adelaide Bird. Check this guy's scorecard out, Bucho. Round 8 to 12, he gave it all for all those rounds for Estrada. The 12th round, which was clearly Gonzalez, he gave it to Estrada.
My opinion, the 9th round was a clear round.
All right, Bucho, you're sounding very low, and I think you get the line in.
Yeah, Is this better?
A little bit. Go ahead.
No, I don't have line in.
Okay.
Okay. The ninth round was a clear Chocolatito round, in my opinion, and this motherfucker gave it to Estrada. I mean, did you put back the scorecard?
Okay.
I want to see it. I want to analyze this shit. This shit card. All right, here we go. So he gave it from the 8th to the 12th to Estrada. That doesn't make any sense at all, man. And then he gave the first 3 to Estrada. I could have done that.
Oh,
But the ninth round, terrible.
I mean, the 12th
Oh,
round.
that's two on the line.
The 12th round to Estrada is the one that, I mean, he went in there, tried to give it his all, but he got tagged and he even got hurt a little bit. I mean, he didn't get wobbled or anything, but he got stunned. Yeah, I see we got Stu on the line. Stu, are you there? I think he's trying to figure something out.
Yeah, I'm here. Listen, guys, I didn't catch the fight last night. I was out partying, and I got into stupid hours, and I got up about an hour ago. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be any use here on the show tonight. I'm sorry about that. It was one of them where last minute thing, just went to see a few friends, and it just got quite messy in the end. And so no, I didn't get to see it.
Please don't tell me you ended up murdering somebody.
No. Well,
okay.
Yeah.
Because that's the way you made it sound.
Murdered in a different sort of way, if you catch my drift.
Oh, slaying some pussy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but listen, what I'll do is, is it a long one tonight? Because I can try and catch up with some highlights and come back to you.
Yeah, you can catch the highlights. We'll go for about an hour. We'll go for about an hour and a half, maybe. You know what I mean? And
okay.
Yeah,
because I don't know what I'm not going to be that much use to you. I'm getting useless, and I mean, look, I said, look, sorry about that, guys. It wasn't planned. The plan was to sit in, have a chilled night, and watch a fight. I'm hearing Chocolatito was robbed. I'll be the judge of that when I see it. But Chocolatito just proving what a great fighter he is. I mean, because I just to make it close with Estrada is a good achievement for me right now, because obviously size, age is starting to tell as well. But he's just showing how good he is. I mean, a lot of people are. The thing is, the word robbery gets thrown around a bit too much in boxing. So I need to look for myself, because 1-2 rounds is not a robbery for me. You know what I mean?
People in the chat say, "Go watch the fight and come back to."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Go watch the fight. Somebody in the chat said, "Go watch the fight and then come back on the show."
Yeah, well, that's what I'm going to do. All right, then, guys.
Now, yeah, we'll forgive you, but we won't forget. All right.
You what? Say again.
We'll forgive you for not watching the fight, but
it's unforgivable, really, isn't it? It's not. It is unforgivable not watching that, but it is what it is. But I will go and have a little look at the highlights, and that's all I need. You're talking to me now. That's all I need. I'll work out what's what in a good little highlight clip, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Take it easy, Stu. Thank you for dropping by. All right. The breaking news, because somebody mentioned that in the chat. There's this hashtag trending on Twitter, which is Chocolatito won. Hashtag ganó chocolate, and they're saying that the World Asociación Mundial de Boxeo, that's WBA, right, Bucho? Because I don't know them in Spanish.
Yeah, WBA,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, they just suspended Carlos Sucre.
Now,
again,
the WBA is it's what's located. I mean, the how do you call it? It's based on Venezuela.
I always forget if it's Puerto Rico or Venezuela. I think that the WBO is Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, the WBA is. I think it's Venezuela. Man.
I think it's Venezuela. Hold on. The foreign national alongside the World Boxing Panama headquarters in Panama.
Panama. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense though.
Yeah, I thought Venezuela too for some reason.
Shit. Anyways, well, listen, Central Americans, they're probably outraged with this decision, and maybe the WBA's taking some of that pressure. And so they had to do something about this. So.
By the way, yeah, the
reputation is on the line.
Just to clarify here, Bucho, it used to be based in Venezuela. That's why we.
Okay. All right.
See, that's how long ago we stopped paying attention to this fucking alphabet organization. We don't even know now where they're located. Could be located in the Congo.
Every champion, like I used to know. Hey, whatever. Who cares?
Hey, by the way, I saw you put up a poll over the community section of our channel, and 106 people have voted so far. And
Okay.
if I here because I'm not logged in, but I think it's not as wide as people think. I mean, I think it was like a 50-something% robbery, and 40% says close fight, could have gone either way. So it's not like, and now you have a guy like Jonathan Morrison, aka Jackson, in the chat says it could have gone either way. Fight film. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, just precisely saying 7-5 either way could be acceptable, but it really should have been Choco. What do you think about that?
That's what I'm saying. Like it could have. I think it could have gone either way, but maybe a draw would have been acceptable. But as soon as you start giving it a 115, 113 to Estrada, you're in the minority, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you have a judge giving it 117, 111, I think that's what caused the outrage the most. It was that stupid fucking card of 117, 111. Even Pete yesterday on the show, he mentioned it. I mean, if we wouldn't have had a 117, 111 card, if it would have been a 115, 113 card, would there have been that much of an outrage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's that fucking card, man. It's that card. The 117. It's ridiculous. And so that leads you to start wondering, well, was the fix in?
By the way,
Obviously,
Butcher,
with
you're
this judge, it
crackling.
was.
You're crackling. Sorry about that, but you're
Fuck.
yeah, I don't know what's. Lower the volume a little bit of the gain, and I'll pump you up here, the volume here. But you're right, Butcher.
Yeah, I had the volume on the Mac on FL. Anyways,
Lower it a little bit because you're still crackling.
all right. What about now?
Still crackling. Go ahead.
How about now?
All right, jump off and jump back in, man, because I don't. Yeah. But Butcher brings up a good. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you bring up the good point about the scorecards. If it wasn't for that 117, 111 scorecard, and again, like I have to reiterate, some people go, "Oh, they want us to scream and holler?" Because I asked that the title of this was Chocolatito robbed. The reason why I'm asking is because I want to get all opinions. Because again, look, I've been around this game for a while. De La Hoya mostly too. Remember, we watched that fight, and not live in person, but I mean live as it happened. And I remember we saw De La Hoya winning, and when they announced the decision, we were aghast. We were, whoa, what? Subsequently, I ended up rewatching the fight, and I was surprised too after the fight that a lot of writers had mostly winning. So I said, wait a minute, what? Since I've rewatched it, and that was like about 17 years ago, more than that. I said, yeah, mostly, he rallied late. He was landing big shots to the body and upstairs. De La Hoya was landing his jab. Didn't really land that much when it came to power shots. So I understand now. So sometimes you look at the fight and you go, oh, the outrage. But then you rewatch and you go, you know what? I can actually see the guy winning. This one I haven't rewatched, Bucho.
Me neither.
But
I have to watch. And by the way, I just want to say that am I crackling?
A little bit.
What the war? Jesus.
Just
quickly, Estrada's body punching. It was a lot of people don't count body shots, but I think you should. That's all I'm gonna say.
My God. And by the way, just reset the PC and then come back in because it might have something to do with it. Or if you have, what happens to us sometimes if you have a lot of shit open, other programs and all that, like browsers.
I don't have shit. I have porn.
All right. By the way,
I'll be back.
All right. By the way, phone lines are open, so guys, you can call in if you want. We got Recognize on the Discord. Recognize. Thank you for your contribution. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
Have you had a chance to rewatch the fight, or have you changed your mind at all from last night's episode at night? Like, what's going with you?
No, I still say it was a competitive fight. I thought Gonzalez won. The only problem I have is with that one scorecard. The 117, 111, 9-3 in favor of Estrada. I mean, if that judge would have gave it 115, 113 Estrada, I think that people would have been like, they gave him the benefit of the doubt, right? They wouldn't be like, oh, that was a robbery. But, look, man, when you take a good fight and you have a little bit of controversy, it kind of taints that good fight. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only problem that I had with the whole fight last night.
Yeah, like Bucho said, I mean, this if it wasn't the whatchamacallit, that 17-111 card, maybe the outrage wouldn't be as bad. I suspect that it would have been bad. but it's really that 117, 111 that's taken it to a whole other level. I mean, and I'm looking at the scorecard here, or the scorecards rather, and the other dude that had Estrada winning 7-5, David Sutherland. Okay, look, like I said last night, I do believe the first 4 rounds, Estrada was getting the best of them. His hand speed was on point. He was making Gonzalez miss. 6th round, Estrada 2, okay. But after that, 7-12, maybe Gonzalez didn't win all those rounds, but he did look more in charge. He got his defense on point. He was making Gonzalez miss, and he was tagging him with shots. I don't understand how this judge, David Sutherland, gave rounds 9, 10, and 11 to Estrada. I mean, maybe it's a bit of a stretch, man.
I mean, you could give him the edge on you would have to be really generous and give him the edge, because maybe I have to go back, but I had him losing from 9, 10, 11. I had him losing at least 1 round. Then the 12th round, he got beat up.
Yeah, that last round was clearly Gonzalez won it. He edged it out, man. I mean, not even edged it out.
He take the last 4 rounds, and Chocolatito won at least 2 rounds, in my opinion. If you take the last 4, 9 through 12.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, man.
In this case, it looks like they gave him 3 out of the last 4 rounds.
Yeah, and the guy that had Estrada Gonzalez winning did end up giving him round 8, 11, and 12. So at least the last 2, definitely. If you want to give him Estrada 9 and 10, okay, I can sort of see that. But Sucre is the guy that gave 8 to 12 to Estrada, which is insanity. Absolutely.
So he gave him the last 5 rounds?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's what he's the one that had it 9-3, right?
Yes. The 117, 111. And by the way, I hate to judge a book by its cover. I'm going to put the picture of this guy back up again. I hate to judge a book by its cover, but when the cover of the book looks like it's a guy he looks like a worm or somebody that should be working at CNN.
Yeah, he looks like he could be compromised.
Exactly. He looks like he is compromised. Like they found some photos in his computer that are illegal or something. I don't know. Look, listen, I don't want to make fun of his appearance too much, rather more of his... Was it stupidity from some of these judges? Because again, some people are saying, well, Estrada has the upside, therefore they gave him the fight. But these are little guys too. I mean, how much... You know what I mean?
I think I have a theory on why they gave him the benefit of the doubt. Well, you got the third fight. Either guy would have been fighting Rungvisai for the third time. The one thing that looks more attractive is the Estrada and Rungvisai, because they're 1-1, where Rungvisai and Roman are, he's won. Rungvisai won both fights, so it's not really a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only. I mean, I could be totally off about that, but I think that was their thinking. Could be. Although I will say that a Gonzalez Sorongvisai fight would be more entertaining than Estrada Sorongvisai.
That's what I thought. Am I crackling?
No, now you sound perfect, man.
Chris Mannix from the Zone. His card was shit at the beginning, though. In my opinion, he had like Chocolatito up 4-1 or something like that, and I was like, okay, I think that fight's closer than that. And then I started thinking, okay, well, maybe the Zone, they want Chocolatito to win because the Chocolatito Rungvisai fight, there's a narrative, there's a story behind it, right? Like it's the guy who knocked out Chocolatito, now it's revenge. Because if you think about it, what's more exciting, Chocolatito versus Rungvisai or Estrada versus Rungvisai?
I think, what's more exciting? I would say Chocolatito, yeah.
Yeah, the story, the way you sell it. You're going to be showing Chocolatito getting dropped and shit, and now he's going, trying to get revenge.
But he is down 0-2, right? So they see it as like he's down 0-2 versus Rungvisai, where Estrada and I agree, which that Roman is more exciting. But they look at, I think that's what I think they're doing. They're looking at it as like, look, they both 1-1. They're even.
The Estrada Rungvisai, the rematch, it wasn't that exciting.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. The first fight, that's why, listen, that's the other thing I want to get to, because some people are saying that this was on Twitter and on other streams. People are saying this was one of the best fights I've ever seen. It was very entertaining, and it was they showed a lot of skill. But like Jimmy said, there was a point where you said, okay, neither guy is really gonna hurt each other. I mean, for me, an entertaining out of this world fight, there has to be that danger of whoa, or at least a demonstration that these guys can hurt each other. After the 8th round or something, it was like, okay, these guys are gonna be taking their shots, and a lot of skill. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like it was just a little level. It was just a notch above the Estrada Sorong the first fight. Which is because Gonzalez, in my opinion, like I said, the last 4 rounds, even the last 5, I thought he was in control. So it took a little bit out of the excitement out of the fight for me. I don't know what you guys think.
So what I'm looking for, desensitize, when you don't have any.
Yeah, desensitize, yeah.
Desensitize, exactly, desensitized. Desensitized. Fuck, I can't even say that word. Yeah, I look like a retard. At something, because since they were throwing a lot of punches, but nobody was really bleeding or nobody was really hurt or staggered.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of started like going, okay, it's like I need some drama here. They were hitting each other, but it wasn't Barrera Morales where like one guy's bleeding, one guy's kind of staggered and hurt, and then like there's Arturo Gatti Ward, where Gatti's like completely out of gas, and all of a sudden he starts like coming out with the second wind or something. It wasn't anything like that. So
yeah, I agree, man.
Compare that fight to those.
I agree. Recognize, what do you think? I mean, some people are saying this was one of the greatest fights of all time. It was a good fight, but I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I know.
Highly skilled fight. It was a very highly skilled fight. Little dudes throw a lot of punches. I do agree with Jimmy that they didn't really do any damage to each other. I can't say it's the greatest fight I've ever seen. I would say Canelo Triple G rematch was better.
Yeah. Even though, because at least
there was more drama. There was like more drama in that fight. I always felt like something big could happen because these guys were really trying to knock each other's head off.
Yeah, and the shots were heavy. Like you could, I mean, from the first round.
Yeah, Estrada shots they seemed pretty heavy at the beginning, and I was thinking, all right, my prediction is going to be correct because he said that Estrada was going to stop Gonzalez in the 9th, but then after 3 rounds or 2 rounds, like. The power was gone from Estrada, and so he just started to pick up the pace, and he started to really tag Estrada. But like again, none of them were really, really hurt, so that drama factor wasn't there, in my opinion.
I agree, man. I agree. Listen, we were entertained by the fight. Don't get us wrong. It was definitely more competitive, more fun overall than Valdez Burchelt. Although that one had the classic box. It was too dominant from Valdez, so. This was definitely better. Let me read a couple of comments here real quick. And don't forget, fellas, if you can call in if you want, number right there in the left-hand portion of your screen. Recognize says it was a very good fight. Jonathan Morrison says Estrada did way better than Canelo did in Triple G in the rematch against Triple G. And Camelot got to win. King Frog says WBA suspended Sucre. By the way, sucre in French means sugar. So I think somebody poured sugar all over this motherfucker. And that's why he's got his sugar. I mean, again, I don't know. Listen, we can't. We don't know yet if it was corruption or incompetence. Although I do believe the former. I suspect that's more than that's the way we would go. But again, I don't have a tangible theory as to why. And may I also say that I don't think we should be, because I've heard a couple, not a lot, but a small fraction of people are saying fuck Estrada. And I'm thinking, come on, you're redirecting your energy at the wrong guy. I sincerely doubt that Estrada is the one that pulled the strings in this moment. You know what I mean? It's like, for some reason, Butcher, they always go after the other guy who got the dubious win. As opposed to, listen, go after the fucking judge. If you want, go after Eddie Hearn, at least go after him. I mean, come up with a theory. But Estrada, to disparage him after, I mean, he went in there, he did his best. What else do you want him to do? Do you want him to admit he lost? What do you think, Butcher?
He did what he had to do. I mean, he can't say that. I mean, he could say that he didn't feel like he won the fight. But he did what he had to in the sense that, he did offer a third fight to Chocolatito Gonzalez.
Yeah, at least he didn't do the Canelo thing where he shushes the crowd as if to say, I won. A razor-thin decision.
Yeah,
He's
or
acting
I
like
remember remember De La Hoya Corte right after the fight? It was a great fight. Well, at the end, especially, there was a lot of drama in De La Hoya Corte. And Larry Merchant asked Oscar De La Hoya, hey, do you want a rematch? And then, like, something like that. And De La Hoya went like, do you think it was a great fight, Larry? You think like he like as if to say like he wasn't really into like no, he wasn't. Yeah, it was a good fight, but it wasn't that great. Like, yeah, there should have been a rematch, and De La Hoya didn't want it.
Well, I will sort of agree with De La Hoya when he said there are bigger, better fights out there, because he did have Trinidad.
Trinidad. Yeah, okay, but
that's the thing about De La Hoya that I always hated. he never gave the people that deserved a rematch. He didn't give it to Whitaker. He didn't give it to Corte. He didn't rematch Trinidad. He could have had the power to make that fight. Oh, but he rematched Chavez. I mean, come on. Or Mosley once he got on the decline. See, that's why I didn't really. I respect De La Hoya in hindsight. I do respect his skills more than I did at the time because I really disliked him for a large portion of his career. But yeah, he didn't rematch the right people. But anyway, yeah, at least like you said, Estrada said, hey.
Estrada asked for a third fight, yeah.
Yeah, at least he said, look, I'm open for the third fight. Although, again, he's got a bigger... I wouldn't say necessarily he's the winner in this one, by the way, because he's got to fight Sorongvisa next. And if he goes in there...
Do people actually want to see a fight with Rumkisai at this point, or do you want to see a third fight, a Chocolatito Estrada third fight right away?
I would rather see that one right away. And I'm curious to hear what the chat has to say. Hey, Bucho, speaking of the chat, King Frog donated the super chat and he said, I had at 7-5 Chocolatito. I feel like he was landing the more effective shots and landing them more often. Less grazing punches. Yeah, especially near the last 5 rounds. Michael Poe, shout out to Michael Poe. And he says, he just donated the super chat. He says, you guys should do a show on corruption because I know a lot of the people in the piano like WWE, but I want a reality sport and I have a lot of answers. Absolutely, man. We should definitely do that, man. Because again, it's just I'm desensitized, like Buchu said earlier, not only to the action sometimes of boxing, but to the corruption. I don't get angry. Now that doesn't just because you don't hear me screaming and hooting and hollering doesn't mean that I'm okay with the decision. But I mean, if you're gonna get angry and then not do nothing about it, then of what good is that anger, that emotion? That's why I'm gonna keep putting this guy's photograph up and his name out there. You guys out there, if you're listening, everybody else with channels, whether you have more subscribers or less than us, keeps mentioning this guy's name. They won't be able to use him again because everybody's going to have their eyes on him. Carlos Sucre. You can find his info on BoxRec. It's easy. There's a paper trail, digital trail now, the digital age. By the way, Precise says, these two have plenty of power. The reason why they weren't damaged much is because of their excellent defense. Yeah, I agree with that. I said that last night as well, I believe. CPB stats were BS. They barely landed in double digits per round. I said that too last night as well. 300 punches landed for each guy. I don't know, man. I didn't see 300 clean shots. Bucho, did you see any of that?
Clean shots? How many?
Supposedly ESPN, I'm going to dig the stats up again, but ESPN, not just ESPN, but the official CompuBox punch stats, whatever you want to call them, they had both guys landing above 300 shots, over 300 shots.
I don't know. I had to look. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I'd have to rewatch the fight, but
the angles was weird though. The camera was fucked up yesterday. I don't know if it was different for other networks or the zone. They were like far away sometimes, and then they were like behind the ref. I don't know, weird camera angles for this fight.
Yeah,
but I mean, Chocolatito, he has a very good defense. All the shots were like hitting the gloves. But there were moments where Estrada was like, he was really getting tagged, and I was like, oh shit, he got tagged like flush, and he would, and then I think, oh, he staggered, and he wasn't. He would just come away with more shots. So, I mean, he either, I don't know. Estrada has a good chin. Chocolatito has a good chin. In my opinion, a big drama fight, there has to be somebody like that gets hurt or is bleeding. But that's just my opinion.
Absolutely. And by the way, I could be wrong with the punch stats because again, I remember Danny Garcia at Spence. I didn't see Garcia letting his hands go that much, but then other people were saying that he did indeed let his hands go more than I first assumed. So I'd have to rewatch the fight. But Gonzalez landing almost 400 shots according to punch stats. Maybe they counted half-landed punches. I could see that because, like Precise said, they both showed very good
those
defense.
fucking stats these days. I mean, there have been many instances where, like, some guy pushing a button in a truck, or where are they? I don't even know how that works.
They must be. And by the way, yeah, that thing that you mentioned about the zone camera angles, they love using that overhead camera, rather, the one with the cables and all that. I mean, I don't like that camera, man.
Suspended above the ring, yeah.
Who's watching a fight over, like in the crowd maybe, but even then you're not actually seeing it from that high an angle. I mean, I don't like the camera. They Showtime and
the camera's behind the boxer, so you're not really seeing the boxer if he's landing because you're seeing him from behind. It's pretty weird.
He's behind. Remember
it's him behind you. RR1000 says, I noticed that too, Bucho. The camera angles were horrible. Yeah, they
They need to.
better
It was like
cameraman.
Pride. Remember Pride FC? They had horrible
Pride
camera.
Fighting Championship, yeah. You only see the referee's ass. It's not like what?
Yeah, the referee's sweet tight ass. Now, hey, by the way, shout out to Michael Poe for his contribution. He says, growing up with my brother in the WWE and meeting all these guys, I got sick of it. I want a real sport that I can root for. Well, shout out to Michael Poe for his contribution. And yeah, man, boxing. Listen, if you're gonna get angry about these decisions, then at least do something about it. Which is why I keep bringing up Carlos Sucre. Check out his record on BoxRec. The judge, he's been suspended by the WBA. Just put the word out there, man. Complain. Send formal complaints to the channels and to the commissions and make something happen. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm angry. Boxing stinks," and then what?
Sergio Mora off the zone, like put somebody else in there.
Yeah, Sergio.
The whole team, the whole zone. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't like it, man.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to the HBO commentary.
Although you have to admit, Bucho, those last 3 years of HBO commentary were rough. They were very biased, and the story of the fight, and I mean,
no, fuck Max Kellerman. I mean, you know what? I'd rather have listened to Jim Lampley. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but I'd rather have Jim Lampley there.
Right.
But we have Jimmy on the line. Jimmy.
Yo, what's going on, guys? And I agree with you, Bucho. Absolutely. Kellerman was a tool, but I said it then when it happened. I said, listen, this is going to have a detrimental effect on boxing. I know a lot of people thought it was funny and shit when HBO backed out of boxing. I got a sinking feeling in my gut. I'm like, this sucks. Because now it's almost like, you know what I mean? It started going bad when Showtime, when fighters started doing the I'm with Showtime, I'm with, a cable company basically started controlling, which fighters on which network. Mm-hmm. And regardless, I don't care. I know they signed Mayweather at the end. Showtime was never better than HBO.
No.
That was always the gold standard. That's the fucking channel every fighter wanted to be on until maybe the last decade. But I just think that was, honestly, when they look back at the history of the sport, if it ever fades away, they're gonna mark it as this was the real downfall when HBO backed out, because they had the money, they had the platform, and now you got the zone come out of it, which is all over the place.
Jimmy,
I don't know.
These guys were, HBO was into boxing for almost 30 years, or 30 years, right? More than 30 years, a little bit.
1975.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah,
I think was the first one. Put it this way, dude, I was fucking following HBO boxing for so long. It took me till about 2000 to stop thinking of Jim Lampley as the new guy. Because when he first came around, I didn't like him. And to be honest with you, I was like, who's this? Is I like Freddie and fucking? I actually like Tompkins, who's now on Showtime. They were doing boxing for HBO, and Larry Merchant was already there. And I remember when Lampley came along, I think in about the same time as right after. The guy, let's get ready to rumble. I remember when he first came around, too, he was like kind of quiet. He took that gig as like a joke, I guess, and then it carried on. But yeah, HBO was the fucking man. That was the channel for years.
And then the internet changed it all. And like you said, it became about factions. Like, Showtime versus HBO. I'm with Showtime. It's like, why aren't you with the network? Whichever network. As long as they make the best fights possible. What the fuck do you care about which fighter's there? And if he's there, then that means I'm with that network. That's a bunch of bullshit. And by the way, speaking of BS, man, look, I don't like to go after other channels and all that. And there's this channel that I don't really listen to it that much. It's a Spanish YouTube channel, boxing channel. It's hold on, I'm putting it here. It's no puedes jugar boxeo, which means you can't play boxing. And this guy, I'm looking at he's saying this is what he said. He said you can't call this a robbery because when you have a fight where both guys give it their all, there can't be a robbery. Now I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, what does that mean? Is he trying to say
that's a fan? That was a fanboy comment.
But I think I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think what he's trying to say is, since both guys push each other, that means it's a difficult fight. I.e., it could have gone either way. Maybe that's what he meant. Maybe, but that makes no sense because, like I was telling Butcher, it's like if both guys give it their 100%, but one guy's 100% is gonna be better than the others. That's possible. It's like Pacquiao versus Morales, the first one. It was a highly competitive fight, but I had Morales clearly winning the fight, 7-5. So that would have been, if they would have given it to Pacquiao, I would have said, okay, it was a competitive fight, but no way Pacquiao won that fight. So it's the same thing here. Just because each guy gave it their all doesn't mean you're cool with the draw or the decision, whatever it might have been. Also, the other thing I hate, man, because it's mostly Mexicans, and for full disclosure here, I am Mexican and Bucho as well. So lest anyone think that we're being biased or something against Mexicans, we're Mexicans. You look at the comment section for his video he did. A lot of people are going with Gallito. Like this guy says, historical rooster, Viva Mexico. It's the best school of boxing in the world. Then one guy goes, very close fight, but Chocolatito, aunque dando el triunfo de Chocolatito, Cuevas ganó. Hold on, what's he saying? No, okay. Some guy says, well, they can fight 10 times, it will be the same result. Okay, this guy, yeah. So this guy goes, yeah, I saw Gallito winning. Another guy goes, yeah, I saw Gallito winning, and Chocolatito was throwing a lot of shots, but it was impressive how Estrada was taking the shots away from him with movement and head movement, and how with his gloves he was playing. So just if you speak Spanish, go to the comment section. You'll see a lot of people saying, yeah, man, Estrada won the fight, which I didn't see that, man. Listen, I'd have to rewatch the fight, but I hate when people become nationalistic with boxing or any other sport for that matter, or any matter. They go, well, I'm going to root for the Mexican because I have to, because I'm Mexican. What is that? Like, what good does that do to you? To you personally, if you're a fan of the sport?
I could see if you don't know the fighters involved, and if the only thing you know is, hey, this kid's from the United States, and you don't know who to vote for, so it's like one of those things. Mm-hmm. Like when we were kids at the Golden Gloves, I used to just pick the kid who had the cooler colored shorts. You know what I mean? When you don't know who they are, going into the ring, you used to pick them for all kinds of crazy reasons, But towards the end, I would always pick the kid who had the least amount of people there for him. If there was like one kid, the whole crowd would cheer for. I'd always go for the dude who didn't have anybody there because I always felt, a softy. I always felt bad for that dude.
I mean, that's understandable, right? When you're young, but I mean, this I don't understand. Some people say, okay, even in our community section, a couple of guys were saying, yeah, I could see Estrada winning. In Ring TV. If you go to ringtv.com and you go to the comment section of the main article for the Estrada Chocolatito fight, you see a couple of people saying, oh, yeah, I could have seen Estrada winning. But they're in the minority. Now, that doesn't...
And I guarantee you 99% of those guys picked Estrada going in, right? So, of course, they're going to say that. That's why I respect guys like on this show who actually picked Estrada to win, but are saying they don't think he won. They think, you know what I mean? To me, that shows someone who's got integrity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And even Gonzalez Gonzalez, didn't he pick Johnny? Didn't he pick Estrada to win? And but he said he got robbed.
Yeah, John Gonzalez called in and said, that he.
Yeah, so I respect people like that. I respect his opinion. That tells me that he's an honest kid. In this world, all we have is like Twitter especially. The only thing we have is our word, right? Is what we're saying. So I think when you lose that, like that fucking, not to pick on that kid, but that knucklehead Artman, I think's his name. Like, how could you go on into a debate and literally make up lies to try to back your thing? Like, why don't you trust these officials? Oh, because of this, and then just blur out this made up story. It's like, dude, you have no integrity, dude. So this is how you are in real life. I guarantee everybody knows that kid knows him as a liar. You can't trust him.
Yeah, people
so
think
I think it's big, you know what I mean?
People think they associate their identity and their worth to boxing picks or boxing opinions, and it's a sport. It's supposed to be for fun, man. I mean, they're getting way over. What's that?
It's pathetic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, let's call it what it is, man. Yeah.
I mean, look at my track record. Look at my boxing. Like, who gives? It's boxing. Like, seriously? Some people, I think they need to get off the internet, man. They it's become their reality. No, it's true though. It's true. It's
right
like look at my track record. What track? Boxing? Are you fucking?
What my track record is? I don't know. I've never written it down. I don't keep count.
Yeah.
I just know I've got a couple of good ones. I'm proud of the 10th calling around. That if you call around when someone gets stopped, that's always cool to remember. But other than that, man, I know I've won more than I've lost, but I don't keep track because I don't give a... Yeah, when you hear these dudes, come on, I'm undefeated. What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Hey, by the way...
You're fucking 240 pounds of fucking 30% body fat. What are you undefeated about?
This is... Okay, this guy in Ring TV, it's just an example. Mickey O'Hanrahan, which, by the way, Jimmy, sounds like somebody you might know from back in the days in the neighborhood. But just by the name alone. He says, I had Chocolatito up by 4 rounds. Up by 2 is absolutely fine. and a draw, he says, while highly contentious, is far from scandalous. But no one's going to convince me, he says, that Estrada won the fight, and only a clown could give Roman just 3 rounds. I agree. See, that's a sensible view right there.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Jimmy, like I said, it's that 117-111 card that is creating all this controversy.
It's outrageous. It's the same with that crazy wide score with GGG, Canelo first one, and then the same thing what Lomachenko was complaining about. Nobody was going after Lomachenko saying, "Oh, fucking shut up." And he was just saying, how can that card be even fucking legitimate? You know what I mean? Like, how can this even be happening? We're talking about sports where millions of dollars are on the line, people's careers. And you got these fucking clowns filling out cards before they leave their house in case they forget their pen.
That's a good point. Like, now we're complaining about this 117-111 card, and it's fine. But when it came to Lomachenko, and complaining about a white scorecard, all of a sudden, you can't say that. You're protecting.
Oh, shut up! You're just looking for excuses.
Well, again, that's going back to people making it personal and getting their identities involved in the boxing thing. But listen, Jimmy, that's why I was saying at the beginning of the show, because some people are, if you don't sound outraged about something, a few people assume that you're okay with the decision. I'm trying to convey here that we're not okay with the decision, but neither are we going to spend our hard-earned energy complain. If you're that angry, do something about it. Otherwise, you're just essentially wasting your time, aren't you?
Well, I don't want to be angry because at the same token, it takes away from Estrada. That kid fought his fucking heart out. You know what I mean? Good for him. And the fact that my respect level went through the roof for him when he said he deserves, or he wants a trilogy. So to him, like he's trying to play it back. But they just got to have, you know what I mean? Something's got to be done about the refereeing. First off, you got to either pay these judges better. Everything, even the referees. Like, look at, Lawrence Cole. He was actually judging the Benavidez fucking card last night. That he was a horrible ref. But you go back and I rewatched the first championship fight I ever saw live, 1981. Vito Inafirmo was a kind of a hot mess fight with Hagler, with all the cuts, and his corner kept jumping in the ring and shit. But if you go back and you watch the way that referee did that fight. Nowadays, they always try to break up fighters too soon. Back then, right, if you start, like, say your fighter's chicken winging you, kind of got your arm under his arm, the referee would reach in and he would slap the hand out from under the arm to get it loose. Yeah. Without breaking them apart. You would see him constantly. He's going and he's slapping the guy's arms out of down just to break them up without breaking the action. These referees kind of fucking get involved. Now, that segues into one thing. Listen, I know some people think this is savage. I don't agree with that stoppage last night with that kid Ellis and Benavidez, and I want to tell you why. No chance he could have won the fight. Everybody knows that. But that wasn't why he was taking those shots. As a fighter, as a man, Benavidez said, I was going to knock him out, and he even said, like, fucking, at that point, that's what he was fighting for. And the referee, how does he not realize that? Like, give this kid, he's got 4 more minutes to make it to the final bell, and it's the only thing he can go home tonight and say, you know what, fuck you, man, you didn't knock me out. I took your best shots, and I'm still here. And even Benavidez said, no, he was a lot tougher than I thought, gained mad respect for him. But to go over and whether you're still fighting back, right, and to determine, okay, no, you've taken enough shots, and just end it. And now he has a TKO loss. He has nothing to take away from that fight he can hang his head on. To me, that shit's like, don't fucking interfere. These guys are putting them, the referees are involved in it. And another thing, just step over here, step over there. A, it gives these guys more time to recover. And B, who the fuck are you? What are you going to have him start juggling next? Of course he's going to be goofy-legged. He just got knocked down. But can he raise his hands? Before, that was the only criteria. Remember back in the day, if you got knocked down, you'd automatically put your hands up, cover your face? Because that was the only criteria. If you had enough ability to cover yourself.
Jimmy, because you're right. You might not have your legs, but you can still
cover yourself and grab. But if they start trying to make you do fucking, two-stepping left and right, and you stumble, okay, never mind, you're goofy. Of course I'm goofy. I just got knocked down, you fucking moron.
You know what, Jimmy? I'm glad.
A lot of shit's pissing me off.
I'm glad brought that point up because my next video is about that. It's about whether Joshua has heart, and in the beginning of the video, I'm trying to establish what is heart, and what should the standard be to let a guy take punishment, or how much punishment should he take before he decides to quit. But look, at the end of the day, everybody always says, well, we have to respect boxers. Well, why are we respecting them? Because we realize this is a brutal sport. And you can't have it both ways. You can't stop fights too early and say, oh, I have respect for the guy because he stepped into the ring. Well, then if you want the fights to be stopped as soon as a guy gets hurt, then you shouldn't have that the respect for that fighter diminishes. In other words, it's dependent upon how brutal the sport is. It's not for everybody. Professional boxing is not for everybody. It's supposed to be brutal. Otherwise, everybody would be in it, just like in the amateurs. Most people, you got smokers, people who participate in the smokers, and you have people that go to the Golden Gloves and international level and so on. But there's a standard. And I agree with Jimmy here. Look, if a guy wants to take a beating for 3 more rounds, let him take that beating. It's for his pride. It's for his record. It's for money.
How about just asking the fighter, are you okay? Do you want to continue? Yes. Okay, go. How about that?
Exactly. And never mind the guy you're chewing at the bit in your corner to get back at the dude. What happens if you're in a fight and like you rocked this dude? He's been tagging you up. You finally rocked him. And by saying, okay, look at me. Okay, now stand over here. Now come over here. Keep the clock going on that. These referees give fucking 6, 8 extra seconds for these dudes to clear their cobwebs. Mm-hmm. It's unfair to the dude they're fighting. Who decided to start doing that? I think it was Jack Reese, the first ref I ever seen do that.
Wasn't it after that Polish dude in New York against the Cuban fella?
What's his name? The one that got a brain.
Yeah, and they got sued. The family sued the New York Commission, so then they started having 2 doctors and the whole walk over here, walk over there. I think.
It's bullshit because fighters sign a waiver. You know what I mean? You can't sue. You know the risks you're playing. And, you know what I mean? Boxers die in the ring. Racers die crashing cars. Hockey players get fucking crippled from going into the boards wrong. Sport has an innate danger to it. When you try to start making the sport safe, you're just going to ruin it. You're going to ruin it. It's a barbaric sport.
Yeah,
Can I just get in here? Can I just get in here? Because Jimmy, what are you talking about, bro? I've come in halfway through the conversation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the referees. Suddenly, when you grew up the same time I did, all a fighter ever had to do before, when he was hurt and knocked down, if he could stand up and raise his fist to cover his face, you were good to go. This latest thing with get over here, now walk over here, and do all this fucking bullshit, giving him more time to recover, and of course, a fighter's legs aren't going to be completely under him. That's not the criteria. The criteria has always been, can you cover your face if he comes? Like, if you can't wrist your hands to cover yourself, I understand. Stop it. But I just don't like the fucking added shit, Stu.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, man. The thing is, where I am with this stoppage stuff is when you're when you got 2 world-class fighters, I think you've got to give them the benefit of the doubt and the best chance they've got of proving themselves that they could carry on fighting. Like the Tyson Fury Wilder 1 fight, a lot of referees would have waved that off, and I'm so glad that a ref had the nuts to let that carry on, because letting that carry on, we ended up getting that final few minutes of that round where Fury just came on strong, and we also got that performance in the second fight where Fury beat the brakes off him. And I think that when he got up, that's when Fury realised how to beat Wilder. I think that was the moment. And I think if the referee had not let him have the opportunity, I think Wilder might have moved on from Tyson Fury, and we probably wouldn't have got the rematch.
Well, Stu, did you hear what Jack Reese had to say about? I just recently watched an interview with Jack Reese describing the Wilder's Fury situation. He said, because he got so much shit about the long count. First off, he proved it wasn't a long count. That's a fact. And second thing, when he said, when I first looked down at Fury, he's like, saw the corner of my eye, he brought his right leg up, his foot up to the floor. People knocked out don't do that. So right away, he already knew he wasn't out cold. But then when he got down to, he looked right in his eyes, and Fury turned, with his head still, but turned his eyes, looked me directly in the eyes, and right away, I'm like, okay, this kid isn't out. If he makes it up at 10, I'm giving it to him.
Look, the thing is, that's what convinced me. That's what convinced me that he wasn't as badly hurt as a lot of Wilder fans would like us to believe. Because when you're semi-unconscious, you're not going to sit there staring the referee in the eye with your knee up. Exactly. I think that was pure. I think it was more to do with pure exhaustion. We've all been there, haven't we? when we're just so tired and we fall over or whatever it is we're doing, and you just barely can get up. And I think he was sitting there taking a bit. He left it a bit late. Don't get me wrong. Of course, he got hit with a big shot. I'm not fucking blind. I saw it. It was a monster. But I think he wasn't as hurt as people. Because if you're hurt from a big shot like that, usually you're getting stopped because you get up. Wilder's going to finish. He's going to hit you with another one. You're going to be sleeping. But if anything, Fury looked stronger when he got up.
Because he took a rest. It was a rest. He got 10 seconds just to fucking catch his breath. You know,
hey, by the way,
he took it to the full extent.
Let me get to the phone lines here real quick because we got somebody waiting. Let's go to hung up. Fuck. All right, call back again if you get the time. Yeah, listen, with the stoppages, look, I agree, man. We have seen examples where fights get stopped too soon or not soon enough. But that's like Jimmy said it perfectly. That's the risk. Look, if professional boxing were easy, all of us would be participating in it to try to get ourselves $1 million purse, right? But the reason why a lot of people don't get into it is because it's a brutal sport. Some guys are willing to die in there. For real. You hear some fighters say that, I'm willing to give my life in there. And then they don't do it. There's guys like Margarito, Corrales, Gatti, Ward. Those guys, the way they fought multiple times, they proved it, man. By the way, all right, we got the person back on the line. 954, you're on the air. 954, can you hear us? 954, you're on the air. 954, going once, going twice. All right, can't hear us. All right, another person's calling in.
Hello?
Hold on, 323, you're on the air. 323, what's on your mind? "323, can you hear me?"
Didn't he say hello?
Yeah, I heard somebody say hello.
Is there a connection thing?
Whatever. But Butcher, if you have the time, maybe if you can call in and see if there's a problem with the lines or
whatever. I'll check now.
Please.
Hey, I managed to catch the highlights, so I'm going to give you what I think. This is not 100% because obviously you have to watch a whole fight to score a fight properly. I understand that.
Sure.
What I saw, I didn't see much of a robbery, I'm afraid. Chocolatito could have nicked it. I thought Estrada was landing the cleanest shots. Chocolatito was landing more shots, but I thought Estrada was landing the cleaner, more devastating shots. The ones that look better on the eye for me. Chocolatito is more pressure, if anything, but I need to watch this fight again properly, which I will do tomorrow. But what I saw, I didn't see a robbery. I mean, robberies, this word just gets thrown around far too much in boxing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, robbery is Ward Kovalev. That's a robbery. A robbery's Wilder 1, Fury 1. They're robberies, not close and counters where both guys put all on the line. It could have gone either way. Look, if Chocolatito had got the nod, no complaints coming from this side. But that's not a robbery to me. I'm sorry.
All right.
What about you, B-Day? I don't know what you feel about it.
I thought Gonzalez...
Did it show in the highlights? Did it show his corner, Estrada's corner, I believe in the 8th, and maybe even again in the 9th round, between rounds, tell him you need a knockout to win?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. Trainers say a lot of things. I mean, what about...
but you don't usually... it would be odd, though.
Well, Algieri's trainer kept him in the cage for 11 rounds. He's getting his ass whooped. I mean, come on, man. I think sometimes trainers will say stuff like that to get an extra couple of % out of them. You know, that could be the difference winning the fight at the end. But look, he was never in a fight where he was massively down on the cards and he needed stoppage to win. That could have gone either way for me, but I need to see it again. What do you think? Who did you have winning, BDA?
But hold on, before we get to sorry about that, but because I'm trying to we got the phone lines here, but we're having some trouble. So if you can hear us on the phone lines, stay tuned. We're gonna see if we can get to you, fellas. Oh shit.
Yeah, I couldn't hear anything, so that means that the line in is not on.
I just checked and it is on. Hold on a second. Let me reopen.
Yeah, I'll carry on. You carry on doing that, and I'll carry on. Jimmy,
hey,
who did you have?
I agree with you. I agree with you that the fight could have won either way. I thought it was Roman won, but the only problem I had was that 9 rounds, the 9 rounds to 3 in favor of Estrada. Like, I don't know what that guy was watching.
Yeah, Stu, what do you think about the 117-111 card?
Look,
reconnecting you now.
the card that's a card. That's a card where it looked a bit wide for me. But them rounds were so close. This was not rounds where one guy was just dominating another. You know, they were nip and tuck rounds. It could go either way. It depends what you like. That fight was not a robbery. This is the thing. A lot of people just don't understand the word fucking robbery. They must not.
All right, let me see
they
if
can't
I can.
do because these guys. Look, I went on YouTube this morning and I thought Estrada had blatantly all this dramatic posts I was seeing. I thought Estrada had robbed Chocolatito blind. I thought it was one of them where Eddie Hearn has done another shocker on someone. But no, look, I watched that fight and if anything, I thought Estrada probably won the fight. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, but if a judge gives only 3 rounds to Chocolatito.
Yeah,
but that's ridiculous. Yeah, but that's ridiculous. That is. But for me, I only get mad at cards when it affects the decision of the fight.
Hey, by the way, real quick, let me see.
Sorry.
Real quick, I got to check if the phone lines are working here. 323, can you hear us?
Yes, gentlemen, it's me.
Oh, is this the Kimster again?
Yes, I wanted to talk to you guys. You guys
are
doing great stuff. And my guy Jimmy's here. We're the co-president of the Marvin Hagler Tribute Club. I haven't talked to Jimmy in a while. Jimmy, how you doing?
Steve, how you doing, buddy? Definitely been better. Like I said to you earlier, man, horrible. Devastated.
I know. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I mean, it was right around, I think, 3 o'clock yesterday. I'm getting ready for a great night of fights, and then I got this link from somebody, and I think it was a tweet announcing that Marvin Hagler had passed away. I was stunned. I mean, I've always thought of Hagler as being a guy that was going to live to at least 95 and just be healthy all the way to the day he goes up to the big boxing ring in the sky, and to see the way he died. I don't want to get into some of the other things that are being said about it. I don't want to make this political, but it was an incredibly sad day for me as a boxing purist to see him just suddenly pass away. One of the great and few regrets that I've had in my career is that I never got to meet him after all these years on the beat. And that'll probably stay with me for a while. But I'll be honest, guys, I have not been disaffected by a death since my father. I mean, that's how deeply it hit me.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And Steve said something earlier, and I even tweeted it out. You phrased it, you put it together perfectly when you said, "Feels like a part of my childhood died." And that was exactly, I couldn't, express how I felt, but that's what it was like. I'm like, he was such an intricate part of my life, and the main driving force behind me being a boxing junkie was Marvin Hagler. So he just ran that 5K. It was 2 years ago up at Canastota with Mickey. He ran that. Mickey was saying he was talking the whole time. He was like crazy shape for a dude in his 60s. And people, because he moved up here to New Hampshire, not that far, so people would see him out running around all the time. So I said, Steve, completely blindsided.
Yeah. Look, Marvin Hagler for me. Look, Marvin Hagler for me is the greatest middleweight of all time. Whether you agree with that, that's on you. For me, I enjoyed watching Hagler from the day he come over to the UK and smashed Alan Mintold all over the shop. I've always enjoyed Hagler. The Leonard fight, I had Hagler winning that. Hagler Hearns is a fight that one of the great. Even though it was 2 rounds, it was probably one of the most exciting fights I've ever seen. I mean, just a brilliant occasion, wasn't it? And look, Hagler had a lot of bums on his record, like they all have. And he fought a lot of smaller guys. I get that, but I just enjoyed watching Hagler fight, and that's why I just want to put Golovkin up there with him.
All due respect to Gennady Golovkin and Bernard Hopkins, 2 guys I certainly admire. Look, if Hagler was not blackballed, and in essence a victim of the politics where there's only really 2 belts back then, he would have had about, 30 defenses? I mean, honestly, we wouldn't even be talking about a record number of times, because he was probably the best middleweight by I'd say, 76, 77? And
absolutely.
He was consciously avoided. And the most admirable thing about him is really 2 things. And I know a lot of people like Jimmy that have run into him, people like Bob Arum, and other people that worked in his camps long ago that I've met that taught me a lot about the sport. I always thought the image of Hagler, the look, actually overshadowed the type of human being he was. He was a good, solid individual. I mean, he was very good to people, sparring partners in their camps. They always said he was a good guy, always shook everyone's hand. treated them with respect. And, you know, everyone knows about the Petronelli stories where they tried to take less of a percentage going into the Leonard fight to talk him into it after he had kind of retired after Mugabe. And he basically said right in front of Arum, and I think it was Goody Petronelli, that if you ever ask to take a lesser percentage, you're fired. This is not about the money. So when I fight that asshole, that's exactly what he said, according to Arum. You guys are getting your 33%. And if you ever ask to take less, you're fired. So don't ever do that again. And he said, okay, I'll fight the guy. And the most amazing thing is, and Arum told me this after one of the Petronellis passed away, we're ringside in San Antonio for, I think it was Chavez against Rubio. And so I went over to Bob to talk to him about Petronelli. And in the course of our conversation, he mentioned, well, we never had a contract with Marvin Hagler. And I go, what do you mean? Never had a written? He goes, no, never had a written deal. He goes, every time we'd come in, new fight, new camp, we would shake hands, and he'd get to training. And then we'd start it over again. So all those years where millions of dollars are at stake, Marvin Hagler kept his word as a man. And this is where I really thought he showed an incredible amount of character. When they were negotiating the Leonard fight, which I think Hagler made back in 1987, 8 figures. So think about the money that is now if you just go by inflation. So Mike Traynor, who was the advisor / really like the promoter for Leonard, he negotiates the deal for Hagler. And so this is an insane amount of money, and this is going to be your 401k money for your great-great-great-grandkids, right? And so then Traynor says, okay, well, Arum can't be involved. And Marvin goes, no, I'm going to tell you this right now. He goes, if Bob Arum, who's my promoter, who helped bring me here and has been a part of this whole run, is not involved, there's no fight. And Mike goes, what? He goes, yeah, I just want you to know, either Bob Arum's involved as my promoter or we're going to scrap this whole thing. Bob Arum was involved. How many guys would do that nowadays? Seriously.
I think we just witnessed one of their recent fighters, how they'd handle that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just how they. I just feel I don't want to get on that tangent, but
Jimmy,
no, it doesn't.
Jimmy, today's fighters don't even live up to their existing contracts. Okay, and I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus. And the other thing is, Jimmy, I think you can attest to this. And I saw a lot of posts on Facebook that people who had met him who were just fans, that any time he went to the Hall of Fame or a convention or a public appearance, which is very rare, he was the most gracious, nice individual, and he was the one fighter that would be the last guy in the room signing every single autograph, taking every single picture. That said a lot about the guy to me.
Whoa.
And that's a true fact. That's a true fact what Steve's saying there, because Marvin Hagler came to the UK and I actually got to meet the guy, and everything Steve said is the truth about that guy. And look, what happened to Hagler in the UK when he fought Minter was an absolute disgrace, and it's probably one of the worst scenes I've seen in boxing. And for Hagler to turn that around and have so much love in the UK, I mean, they had, like I said, fundraising events for him, like dinners where you met him and stuff, all over the UK, and he's got a massive fan base over here. And the way he turned it around after being basically lynched in the ring nearly, I mean, that just shows you the man that Marvin Hagler was. So I agree with Steve.
Yeah. And you know, for me, growing up, look, since Leonard had been retired or kept retiring, 5-6 times, look, we didn't get to see him throughout the 80s consistently. Hagler, to me, pre-Mike Tyson, he carried the sport alongside Duran. Whenever Leonard fought, and obviously Tommy Hearns, that era is very special. And I think we talked about it. I think Johnny Boy asked a question on Friday that, you know, the Teofimo Lopez and his 3 colleagues, they could never be those guys. The business is not built for it. The mechanisms are not there. And the other thing that's really interesting, Jimmy, I think you could talk about this. Everyone, when they talk about favored sons of Brockton, they always talk about Rocky Marciano, but people don't realize Marvin was probably just as beloved. He became a real franchise in the New England area in the mid-'80s.
That carried into the 90s.
Well, Brockton, to be honest with you, Marciano, didn't have a very great reputation because he was mobbed up, before he became champion,
okay.
and he was cheap as I guess. I mean, well, he died in a plane crash supposedly. Fucking when he was going to Cleveland to collect like $100, or he flew to Cleveland. I was told because a dude out there owed him. He would hang around the airport catching rides. Yeah, so he wasn't in
Jimmy, you cut off, man.
England. Very few people liked Hagler. He got a bad reputation. It was press driven. So, and you had Leonard, who was the golden boy, the Olympic golden medalist, and all the commercials. So, yeah, he was always portrayed as the evil guy. But I'll tell you what, Steve, as much as anybody, fighters today don't want nobody in their fucking camps. If they're sparring or if they're working out, half the time they have everybody in the gym leave. They want it to themselves. He wouldn't even care. First off, he would go and train with everybody in the gym, all the regular kids. On top of that, we'd pile a bunch of dudes in my car and drive down to Brockton. And as long as we didn't talk to him while he was training, which would be stupid, I don't know if anybody would do that, he didn't give a fuck. We were all lined up on the wall just watching him. And after he was done training, he'd hang out. He drank soda, which always blew my mind, man. Dude drank a lot of Pepsi. He would just crack a Pepsi right when he was done. But, great guy.
Real quick, Steve, are you still there? Oh, I think we lost him. Hold on a second. Real quick, because, we had some issues here. Hold on a second. Oh, shit. Hold on. Yeah, Steve, if you're listening, we got disconnected here. Real quick. Yeah, I don't know what happened here with the internet, but hold on a second. Give me 2 minutes.
Hey, can I ask Steve a question when he comes back? I just got a question for him about this fight.
Yeah, let me just see if we're... All right, for some reason...
Yeah, he was there, wasn't he? Wasn't he at the fight last night?
I think so. No, he wasn't. I think he wasn't.
Oh, he wasn't? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm curious too, Stu. We asked him that. I'm curious. I haven't heard his opinion on it yet.
Yeah, because I said, look, I'm not pretending that I have the answers on this. I can only go what I saw, and that's not enough. I know that you got to watch the whole fight, but what I did see, I saw Estrada landing the cleaner shots.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live.
Chocolatito did have his moments where he was landing nice shots, of course, but I thought Estrada was landing the. Sometimes one world-class shot can cancel out two half-decent shots, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Steve. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, we can hear you. Sorry about that. We lost connect. Can you hear us, Steve?
Yeah, guys, one thing before I just want to talk about the Chocolatito Estrada fight. Jimmy, you talked earlier about like the sobriety check that the referees do with guys getting knocked down now, the do-si-do, and they, make them time and says that is actually something that has been put in by the commissions. It's not. Jack Reese is just under orders. I hate that thing because I actually believe it's more dangerous. I think there's two things here about that rule. Number one, it takes away the advantage of the guy that scored the knockdown. Okay? Like it's an 8 count, so it should be theoretically within 8 to 12 seconds, and then let that guy pounce on the guy that they've earned that advantage over. The second thing is, Jim, these guys get concussed. And so if you're actually giving extra time for fighters to recover, you could actually prolong the beating. So I'm not
exactly.
That's any safer.
Yeah, but isn't that what it's meant to stop, though? I heard that's what it was meant to stop, to give them time to recover, for the ref to have a look at them and see if they can carry on. Because before, fights were just getting up and they were getting pounced on before they do.
No, you're absolutely right about that. But I think sometimes there's this phrase called unintended consequences. I mean, look, if you go back to the Ortiz-Wilder fight, what they do in New York, and again, they didn't cheat Ortiz. This is a rule that in between rounds, after a fighter is hurt, they can then take an extra time after the 60 seconds. And I'm like, look, and I'm with Jimmy. This is a rough, brutal sport. The rules are the rules. Let's not take away the integrity of what is the sport. You get 60 seconds in between rounds, and theoretically, it should be an 8 count, not a 25-second count. That's the whole thing.
It's a great point, man. Yeah, like people listen. I know we're in the PC era, but boxing is what it is. It's a brutal sport. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. It's got to be for the best of the best only. And look, are we bloodthirsty to a certain extent? Yeah, but it is what it is. I mean, like what
is drama?
Blood is drama. Yeah, like Larry Merchant always used to say. Blood is drama.
Well, Steve, did you see Benavidez fight last night? Like, to me, that's a prime example.
Yeah.
Ennis knew he had no chance of winning that fight, but what he wanted was to be able to walk out of there, shake his hand at the end of the night. You didn't knock me out. Like, that's what he was fighting for, not to be stopped. And for, you know what I mean? Like, yes, he was taking beating, but he had another minute to go.
Hey, Jimmy
I
Garcia was
disagree
doing the
with
same
that,
thing.
But Jimmy, I'll push back a little bit. Here's the problem. If you are a commissioner or a referee, you don't want that grave consequence. What if this thing turns bad? I was a young
Right, and he dies on your watch. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Right, and now you're talking about liability and the perception of the sport, and everybody, and as they should be, is very concerned about concussion, CTE. The last thing boxing needs is a nationally televised fatality. I remember even as a kid, I was very young when that fateful night happened between Ray Boom Boom Mancini and Dooku Kim. It was actually on a Saturday afternoon. It was on CBS. And I remember the effect that it had on the game. Look, do I believe there are certain fights that should be allowed to continue? Like, I see certain cuts that are really bloody. But if they're not going to cause permanent damage, as long as the guy can see and it's not affecting his performance, I actually think you let him fight on. But, one of the problems is that for a guy like Ellis, who is not exactly Julian Jackson, the competitive phase of that fight probably ended around, the fifth, sixth round? Like, you kind of knew it was going to be one-way traffic. So at that point, you're like, geez, this guy can't even win. And I actually believe that we should just be throwing in the towel a little bit sooner sometimes. If a guy simply cannot have the lightning bolt in his back pocket, what's the point of this thing? I actually like the fact in the UFC, if it ain't your night, you just tap out, and you're not branded a quitter, and you have the scarlet letter around your neck.
Well, is it also a question sometimes that these trainers, and I think you've mentioned this before too, that boxing is one of the few sports where almost anybody can become a trainer. Just put a towel over your shoulder and, hey, I'm a trainer. Are these guys scared? Are these guys scared of stopping the fight and losing a job, in other words?
Yes. I think that's part of it, because you have to deal with the backlash that the fighter. Look, we saw it with Deontay Wilder and Mark Breland. The other factor is a lot of trainers have egos, and one of the most empty, hollow moral victories in sports is, well, at least we went the distance. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but if you lost 120 to 108 and you shaved years off your fighter's career, what was really won on that night?
That's the dilemma. It's like Margarito. Okay, he went 12 rounds with Pacquiao, but his career pretty much ended up getting finished in that fight. So,
that fight should have been stopped.
But listen, Steve.
Oh, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask. Can I ask Steve a question?
Hold on. He wants to say something. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
Please.
Well, actually, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you a question, Steve, because I only caught highlights of Chocolatito via Estrada, and I want to know what your opinion is of who won the fight.
I do, and look, I'll admit I'm a bit of a Chocolatito homer. I visited the camp 8 days before, so I'm not exactly the most unbiased guy. But I'm going to watch the fight right now after I get off the phone with you guys. I last night had it 116, 112. I could see maybe being a little closer. But here's the problem when people say, well, there was a lot of close rounds and swing rounds. Okay. A professional judge is there to sift through that and to be able to figure it out. And in my view, especially in the first 4 rounds, I thought Chocolatito got up to a nice start after a slow round 1, and he was winging a lot of good right hands right in the mid-range as he was like finding shelter inside the pocket. And he does a really good job of keeping his hands up and understanding when punches are coming and finding comfortable space. And he operates very well, and I think he's one of the last great combination punchers we're ever going to see, because he throws with a lot of balance, and he doesn't throw everything hard, but then he does change pace. And then
he does.
6 and 7, I'm thinking, oh boy, it's happening. Estrada's the younger guy. He's enforcing his physical nature, hurt him to the body, and I'm thinking, this is looking not good. I was absolutely stunned by how well Chocolatito found the second wind, starting from about round 9. And round 12 was clearly his round in my view. I thought he hurt him a couple times with the right hands, and I had it 116, 112. And for those who say, well, it was a close fight, you know what? I'm not going to argue that. Here's the problem. You got to ask yourself this question. Could you really find 7 rounds, though, for Estrada? That's my viewpoint. But I am biased. I'll admit that.
And the thing is, though, Steve, when you've got a horse in the race, you seem to watch what they're doing a bit more than you're watching what the other guys do. Now, I'm not saying that what you saw was wrong because I didn't see enough of the fight. I went out partying and didn't get a chance to catch it all. So I'm only giving a half opinion of what I saw for the sake of the show. But I saw Estrada landing some very good, clean shots as well and hurting Chocolatito at times. Do you know what I mean? I think I had it.
Look, I agree.
What I saw of it, I thought it was after 6. It was probably one round in it. That's how I saw it.
I'll agree with you. I actually think the individual harder shots, they were probably landed by Estrada, but there was a certain steadiness to Chocolatito's work rate that I enjoyed, and that's why I'm going to rewatch the fight.
Yeah.
Maybe I came in there with a predisposed opinion. Look, if you go back to round 6, he buckled or bent over Chocolatito with body shots, and it took the air out of the tire, and then he had the momentum and won the 7th. Estrada, to me, I thought was going to really press hard and then get to that body more. But here's the problem. If you're going to find a pathway to the body, that means you got to be in close. You know, there's not a lot of body shots landed from the outside. It's not like establishing the jab. You actually have to position yourself in what is a bit of a vulnerable hit zone. And that's where Roman Gonzalez thrives. So to me, I thought it was interesting that the size factor for Estrada, in my view, in the youth, it wasn't in the punch rate. It may have been a little bit in the power, but it was the ability to take punches because he took a lot of shots. Now, again, they weren't the hardest shots, but over the course of time, I still think Roman Gonzalez, for a 115-pounder, he's a fairly heavy guy. And I thought the zone announcers, they missed a lot of clean punches. I'm watching this fight, and I know all those guys, but I'm kind of thinking, hey, guys, you just missed 3 right hands from Gonzalez. Can you at least, acknowledge them? I thought it was puzzling, but again, I'm not there. I'm just a fan watching on a laptop.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I mean, look, listen, one thing I will have to rewatch the fight because I saw De La Hoya Mosley too, and I remember thinking at the time, oh, De La Hoya won that one. Then, despite what the HBO commentators were saying, most of the writers, a lot of them did have Mosley winning. And then when I rewatched the fight, I said,
I was one of them.
Well, there you go. So, yeah, look, sometimes we can be wrong in our first assessment, but in this one, I don't know, man. I'd rather have been Gonzalez. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, Bucho. Going back to that rematch, that fight, I thought Mosley won the last 3-4 rounds to edge it. 80% of the writers ringside, remember Doug writing about this in his mailbag, he took a poll, and most people had it about 7-5 for Shane. So this was before the age of social media, and it was interesting. There was no controversy inside the venue or even at the press conference. It wasn't until we got angry emails on that Monday that we're like, tough. Wait a minute, there was a controversy.
I remember watching that fight live, and I remember having Shane Mosley winning that myself. I thought Mosley was doing the better work. I remember it. Look, it's what you like in a boxing. Chocolatito, if he won that fight last night, I'd have had no problems with it because it's what you like. Some people like the busier work, and he was the busier guy in there. So, yeah, I haven't got a problem. I score fights how I like the work I like, and I suppose it might be not the way to do it. I don't know, but the way I like is clean punches and stuff. And I
think the problem was the 117. The problem was the 117, 111. That's definitely not a reflection of the fight. Nobody's going to agree. Nobody's going to agree with that. So it leaves a bad taste in boxing fans' mouth. And I'm happy that the fans over there and the Mexican fans in Texas, I'm happy they booed that decision. Not that they were booing Estrada. They booed the decision that that fight in no way reflected a 9 rounds to 3 for either guy. I would have said the same thing if they would have given it to Chocolatito. There was no way you could score that fight 9-3.
You know, I put up a poll. Now, again, I don't know if people trust polls anymore. I'm not exactly Gallup. But I asked yesterday, people, give me your opinion, no matter what you think. I put it up both on my Instagram account and on Twitter. I said, who won? This is my card. You can have any opinion you want. I would say 3/4 of the people had Gonzalez.
Yeah.
You know,
That's what I'm seeing
he
too.
won in the eyes of the public. Here's what I'm afraid of. I actually would like to see Roman Gonzalez retire. He gave so much of himself. He's still 33, which for that weight class is like being 40. And that could be such a dispiriting experience, losing in that fashion. In my view, I thought he won the first Sorunga fight. I was ringside for that. I was really stunned by that decision. He could easily be, 52-1 or something? It's an unbelievable career. And the way he fought last night, and this is what I hate, is when certain people won't give credit to fighters in losses where they perform brilliantly. And it's like when people say, well, Tommy Hearns lost every big fight he had. I think it's an incredibly unfair criticism of certain people.
Exactly,
and,
man.
You know, like with Golovkin, this is the thing that gets me. And obviously, I think we're all pretty big Golovkin advocates here. When people start downplaying Golovkin now, and I say to myself, you know, when you people keep praising Canelo and heaping praise on him, they don't even realize they're doing that with Golovkin. They're actually raising his stock. There's not enough nuance in a lot of these discussions.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's like with
Steve, who did you have in Canelo Golovkin 2? Who did you have winning that?
I had Golovkin winning. I do.
You had Golovkin winning the second?
I thought 10, 11, 12, he snuck by the fight. But again, that's one fight I am not going to have a disagreement with in terms of if you had it the other way. But there's this revisionist history. Well, Canelo also won the first fight. No, he didn't. Right there.
He didn't even come close to winning that first fight.
And Steve, would you agree in the second fight in the 10th round, if there was ever anybody hurt in that fight at the end of the 10th round, remember Canelo, caught him caught Canelo, and the first thing his corner said was, Jimmy, "Are you all right?" when he get back to the corner?
Jimmy, let me just say one thing. I think I will give Canelo this. I think he was the more improved, evolved fighter coming into the rematch, and for the first 8-9 rounds, it showed. In the last third of that fight, starting with the 10th that you mentioned, Jimmy, Golovkin figured out one thing. You cannot just go jab, jab, or jab, right cross, or jab, jab, right cross. Gennady got into a real methodical pace where he was going to rely on the jab. He started to have success as he started to lengthen his combinations. Because one thing about Canelo, I give him a lot of credit. His head movement and his ability to evade punches, you can't just throw 1 or 1-2s and think you're going to hit him consistently like he did the first fight. But when Golovkin started to lengthen his combinations and added the uppercut and the wraparound hook at the end of those salvos, he started to touch Canelo more consistently in the last 9 minutes than he did even in the first fight. And I have a theory. If you watch that fight, I think Canelo said, you know what? I've done 24 rounds with this guy. I don't want to do anymore. Regardless of what
I agree.
I agree. The last 3 rounds, I'm not taking this again.
Hey, Steve, I wanted to ask you something.
Kim, can I?
Go ahead, Regan. Go ahead.
No, I just want to ask him a question. And because I know he's like he knows a lot of he has a lot of good sources. I get the feeling that Canelo really dislikes Triple G because he can't own him. He you know when he really dislikes this guy. And it's because I think go ahead. I'm sorry, Kim.
You're absolutely right. This thing turned very personal once the drug test came out. And the thing that's puzzling to me is Canelo seems to be upset at Tom Loeffler and that camp and Abel Sanchez and Golovkin because they basically said, well, you failed the drug test, you're a drug cheat. Okay, so what's the problem?
Exactly, I agree. What's the problem?
Before the drug test.
Yeah.
All these Canelo fans say, well, he rubbed it in, and well, wait a minute. If you fought a guy that was on drugs and failed the drug test heading to the rematch, how would you feel? And I've always thought that was bizarre.
It's crazy.
The drug test.
Steve,
now you're
one thing you can't say though, Steve. Steve, one thing you cannot say about Canelo is that he's really ducked Golovkin or he's scared of him. When you go in there with someone like Golovkin, 24 rounds, and for me, win one of them, you don't really have to prove anything to anyone. Yes, I want to see the third fight again, but I think Canelo steamrolls Golovkin in the next fight. I just think Golovkin's
you know what? I actually think that Golovkin, for his legacy, is better off not fighting him the third time and having the perception, well, Canelo really didn't want it. Well, a lot of people still think you're 1-0-1 or 1-1 or 2-0 against a fighter that looks like he's going to be an all-time great, because that elevates your status. And maybe getting the third fight, if he gets wrecked, then it kind of ruins his whole legacy. You know, age matters. I have never seen a fighter, and I have my issues with Golovkin right now because I think this thing's turned into a retirement tour. I told you on Friday, I'm bored by the career. Mm-hmm. I think he's become a little bit bitter at this whole business. But I've never seen a fighter at age 38 who there's not a lot of drug rumors or any being judged like he's 28. Folks, he's actually past his prime. There's never been a fighter, in my view, judged so harshly at his age or his stage that wasn't aided by a pharmacy.
That's true.
And I got to give Canelo credit. I think he's no worse than the second or third best fighter, but it's also okay to say that, hey, he may have lost to Trout. I had him winning by 1 point. I thought he barely eked by Lara, but I know a lot of people had him losing. He certainly lost to Mayweather, and a lot of people don't think he beat Golovkin at least once. This is the problem with debating boxing nowadays. Everything is black or white. You're just not allowed to have a gray area. And to me, going back to Golovkin real quick, I kind of want to see him in there with somebody else. And there's other guys to fight. Because I still think if you give him enough time to prepare, he's actually motivated, and it's not just about the zone money. He's still a pretty damn good middleweight. He's just not what he was in 2000.
Murata's going to be dangerous for Golovkin. I'm not saying he'll win. I think that's a dangerous fight for him at this stage.
It could be. It could be. What? Look, the story going back to Marvin Hagler, the reason why, and I know people that were right there when it happened. When Hagler fought Mugabe in 1986, he actually really struggled, and you could see the physical slippage halfway through the fight. Ray Leonard was there ringside, and he said, wow, Marvin has really gone backwards. I could fight him. I'm going to beat him. That's when they made the fight.
That's right.
A lot of this is matchmaking. And that's exactly. And unfortunately for Marvin, he sacrificed certain things like the ring size and the number of rounds for $3 million extra.
And then the padding on the ring, too. He allowed it to be too mushy. You know what I mean?
Hey, but can I ask something real quick? Can I ask something real quick? Can I, Steve, in regards to Hagler, why was he doing a little bit of a dance at the end of the Leonard fight?
I think, that's interesting. I would have loved to have asked him. Look, I don't know if Marvin would have liked it, but if I would have ever interviewed him, one of the first questions I would have asked him is, what the hell were you doing the first 3 rounds orthodox? Look, and I still think he won the fight. He probably at the end thought, I won, I beat him up at the end, and I'm not going to let Ray steal this moment from me. And, who knows? To me, I look back at that particular night. I wonder if Marvin actually underestimated Ray Leonard a little bit. Because remember, Ray hadn't fought in 2.5 years, and I still distinctly recall he fought this guy named Kevin Howard. I think he was a tough guy to Philadelphia. I think it was in Worcester, Mass. Worcester, and he got knocked down. And then he said, I quit again. So in Marvin's mind, he had to think, I'm going to knock this guy over. He's not really a middleweight. But there was slippage, though. Look, Marvin Hagler, for a decade, was the most disciplined human being. He made monks look undisciplined. But even at the end, he started to kind of sway a little bit. It's human nature. It happens. None of these guys are perfect. I'm good with it. And, I don't know why he was doing that dance. But every time I watch that fight, that's a hard fight for me to watch because I know the ending. But I thought from about the 4th round on that Marvin won a large majority, if not almost every single one of those rounds.
Yep. I think that, something, Steve Kim, I thought in the Mugabe fight, I thought even though Hagler won the fight, if you go watch his he knocked him out. He won the fight. If you look at his face, he looked disappointed, like almost to the point where he knows he lost something. So my theory was that he lost something in that fight. Whatever it was, whether it was like a mental edge, and going in. Then he didn't have a fight for a year. I think it was like a year, and then he fought Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah,
well, I can tell you what I was told. I was told that Hagler said it was the worst he was ever hurt. He didn't like how hurt he was in there.
right.
Like,
There you go.
really
You could see it in
rocked
his
him.
face. You could see it in his face
And
that
Jimmy,
he was.
There are people that I know that have told me that were at Taco's gym when he was winding down that camp. He didn't look good in sparring. He didn't. And look, it happens. Father Time catches up with everybody. And, you know, I think he was only 32 or 33. But remember, those guys fought 55, 60, 70 times.
15 rounds, too.
Are we ever going to get another modern-day fighter outside of Chocolatito, Pacquiao, and guys that are going to fight 50, 60 times? I don't think it's going to happen. So they age differently. The mileage was a little bit quicker on the odometer. And so that became an issue. But this is what I love about Hagler. His last 3 years, he fought one time. And look at this run to end a career. He had, in 1985, he had the legendary war with Tommy Hearns. Comes back the next year, one of the best fights of 1986 against Mugabe. Then the legendary matchup with Ray Leonard. They don't build him like that man anymore. What a stud.
No.
What an absolute stud.
And that was the same day weigh-ins too, and a lot, you just can't put enough fucking onus on that. That's a huge thing. And 15 rounds too. They had 3 extra rounds. But going back and just to circle back with like that's why I put so much onus on Canelo giving up his belt for 2 years. That was so strategic. He was just still back then. Remember, like 14 to 17, nobody wanted anything to do with Gennady.
There was literally a time, Jimmy, and this is when I was doing the show at the other place. Sergio Martinez, people were literally saying, "Well, he's so old. Even as a middleweight champion, he shouldn't be forced to fight Golovkin." I'm like, he has a championship. Give me a damn break.
I remember this clearly. I remember a lot of people have amnesia. Let's just put it that way.
Right? They're like, "No, Miguel Cotto, he's too old," and he's. I'm like, wait a minute. See, this is where I'm consistent. If Golovkin is going to make this type of money under the zone deal, I want to see real fights. Uneasy is the head that wears the crown and makes a lot of goddamn money.
Exactly.
Like with Manny Pacquiao, Manny, if you want that $20 million, I want you to fight somebody. Bottom line, as much as I love Manny, this mercenary act is getting real old. My popularity just dipped into the Philippines after I just said that. But it is what it is. I'm a fighter, man. I'm not these guys' stockbroker, man.
Yeah, listen, man. Okay, Jimmy.
I was gonna say, now you got all these guys, these welterweights, like it's the Pacquiao sweepstakes. Who's gonna win it? You know what I mean? Everybody's trying. Spence, and first off, I agree with everything you said the other day when you called in. Your assessment on today's sport. I mean, it was dead on, dude. Dead on. But everything you said is one of the reasons. To be honest with you, I've said it on the show. If it wasn't for the community, all you guys, the people I've met, I don't even know if I'd still be following the sport anymore. I'm that disgusted with the behavior.
Jimmy, I'm just telling you, I know you're a real fight guy. You're in the gyms, you fought, you had some experience. A guy like me, I've made my career out of it. And yesterday I had a great time. I tell you what's really a lot of fun for me is actually going to the gyms. And I went to Buddy McGirt's gym. That's become my regular gym because it's still open, even though it's not supposed to be, and get a good workout in and just hanging out with Buddy, talking boxing. I find that to be a lot more fun than covering the latest tweet from Ryan Garcia bitching at Golden Boy. How old is that?
Wait, you don't get any intrigue out of that? I mean, it's so spicy.
It was cute for about a year. Okay, it was cute back in 2018, but think about this with Ryan, who's a very popular guy. I actually don't hate the kid, but I'm hearing now that he's having more issues with Golden Boy, and they don't know what they're going to do. Guys, he literally signed what they describe as the greatest contract in prospect history about, a year and a half ago? The hell, just like get in there. Either you're going to have a career or you're not. And that's why, no matter what happened last night, and whether you think Chocolatito won or Estrada won, I have a great appreciation for both men. Look at their boxing.
Yeah, same here.
These guys had careers.
Exactly.
Man. It was fun covering that stuff.
I think with Brian Garcia, I don't think it's going to be long really before he leaves Oscar De La Hoya. He might have signed a contract, but I can see him getting out of that some sort of way and going to Eddie Hearn. I think Oscar's finished as a promoter, to be honest with you. I mean, it just doesn't seem to have the stomach for it. I mean, when he did that Chuck Liddell Ortiz, it was just embarrassing watching him. He didn't even know any of the fight names or anything. It was just embarrassing. He shouldn't even have been there. And he's becoming a bit of an embarrassment to boxing promotion. I mean, no one wants to be with him anymore. Go ahead, Steve.
He's going to fight again, right? I heard that's going to take place in the summer. He's actually serious about doing this again.
Hey, that's a good. I wanted to ask you too. Now that I just remembered, Billy Joe Saunders is talking about how he doesn't think he can win against Canelo. Is that just Billy Joe being Billy Joe, or what do you think is going on with him?
Look, if you're a fighter who's the B side going to Texas against the most popular fighter in the sport, and you look at the track record where Canelo gets the benefit of the doubt, to say the very least, he might have a point. And, but if I'm a fighter, I don't know if I go around admitting it. This era is just odd. It's an odd era, guys.
You can say that again. Yeah, man, because, I mean, why are people going to pay? Well, I guess with the Canelo fans, if for some reason, somebody made a good point here on this show one time. They said, and he was British, by the way, the guy who said it. He says, for some reason, there's always a contingent of fat Mexican women who love the baby-faced boxer for some reason. You don't see that in any other demographic, but with us Mexicans, for some reason. And it's true, with Canelo, he's always going to have people supporting him, no matter what he does. Even if his opponent says, yeah, I'm going in there, and I know I got no chance of winning. But it's, like we said also before, it's true, like, Billy Joe Saunders, what's he going to do? He's not going to press Canelo in there. He's not going to outwork him, I don't think, or outpunch him. So, his only shot is make it the distance, hope he can outbox him or make it a close fight and see if they give him the benefit of the doubt.
If I was promoting a fight and one of the promoters said they have no chance of winning one of the fighters, I'd fire him.
Yeah.
I'd be furious.
Yeah, I would be mad at Billy Joe right now.
Could you imagine a Marvin Hagler who had to go to Philadelphia as this unknown guy? This is before he was a champion. He had no choice for relatively little money. He went to face Bad Benny Briscoe, Boogaloo Watts, Cyclone Hart, and I mean, but he never said, "Oh my God, I'm going to Philadelphia. They're so mean up there. They boo people. Give me a break. You're a fighter. Can you act like it?"
No, he went in there and said, "I'm going to go kick your ass in your hometown."
Remember after 1981, after he beat Anafirmo in that sloppy fight with all the headbutts and shit. But at the end, I love it. When I was in the arena, I was a kid. But when he said, "I want to thank Anafirmo for buying my mom a house," and he pointed to his mom was right in the front row. That was awesome.
That's the whole. I mean, it's almost like DJ's admitting that my victory is signing the contract. Well, that really fell the fight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's Eddie Hearn didn't throw him under the bus either. He said, "Well, Billy Joe's just being Billy Joe," and I'm thinking, really, man, is that what's going on here? Because I don't know. I mean, it's hard to put too much confidence in a guy who pays crack whores or homeless guys to beat each other up. I mean,
the thing with Billy Joe Saunders, I don't even have any confidence that he's going to turn up on the night because there's a lot. Well, there's a few months before that fight, and he's got plenty of time to get him in some sort of trouble. Where he's failing a drug test or getting some crackhead whore off the street to slap someone in the face. You never know with this guy. He's up to all sorts. And don't be surprised if that fight don't happen. This is the thing with Billy Joe. He's just not prepared himself for Canelo Alvarez. You can't just fight once a year. Fight once a year against a guy that's you shouldn't even be fighting. Look terrible when you're doing it, and then come back and fight Canelo Alvarez. I mean, not
Guys,
for me.
I want to ask you a question. And again, it's really too bad none of the powers that be are going to listen to us. But isn't David Benavidez the super middleweight, the current super middleweight we actually want to face Canelo? Never mind if he might win or not, what the odds are. He's the guy that I want to see against him, not anyone else.
I'm with you.
Exactly.
I'm totally with you, Steve Kim. I
100%.
I hear a lot of
people about Billy Joe.
No, he's talking about Benavidez.
We all want to see Benavidez fight Canelo. I think that's universal across the board.
Benavidez, yes.
I think that's unanimous across the board.
I don't know, man. I think Canelo wins that one.
I don't care who wins that fight. I want to see that fight.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying I think Canelo wins that one. I do want to see it. What's Benavidez done, though, really? What's Benavidez done, really, though, to warrant a big fight. I mean, look, this guy,
Not a lot.
he's just
No,
going
none of them
stout.
have, though. It's like being the shortest tall person. As I like to say, in a situation like this, it's like being the fastest Korean sprinter. You're not that fast, but you're still fast enough to beat everyone else. You might run a 13.57 meter, but you're the fastest Korean sprinter. You're right. None of these guys are Nigel Benn or Chris Eubank. But the one thing I like about Benavidez, he's going to throw punches. He has really good offensive skills going up against a master counterpuncher. That I want to see.
Because, Steve Kim, what I noticed is since Canelo's fought in north of the middleweight division, these guys are afraid to exchange with him. They look afraid. I don't think Benavidez will be afraid. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but I don't think he will be, and I think he will have moments where he's piecing up Canelo as well.
When was the last time Canelo fought a volume puncher with hand speed?
Maybe Daniel Jacobs?
Laura?
Right, who didn't throw a punch for 9 rounds.
Yeah, I mean...
Who always does just enough to lose.
Yep.
Right. Daniel Jacobs, in what they call football, is what I call the backdoor cover. He scores 2 late touchdowns to cover the spread. He was never really in the game.
Hey, speaking of Jacobs, what happened between... Have you heard anything about what exactly happened between him and Andrew Rozier behind the scenes?
Yeah, he did. Look, he made an 8-figure payday, and he basically paid Andre, who had been with him basically since the beginning of his career, pennies on the dollar.
And
I mean, again, where have you gone, Marvin Hagler?
Yeah, but he's correct me if I'm wrong. Was his reason, Jacobs, that because he was missing training camps or something like that, Rozier?
He missed about 3 days.
Oh,
3 days in about 2.5 months. So it's that. I mean, again, did he have perfect attendance? Would he get that certificate? No. But when you work with a world-class trainer, and I've seen this with Freddie Roach, where I'd come into Wild Card with my gym bag and I'd say, "Where's Freddie?" And this is during Pacquiao camp. He'd be up there with Jerry Penalosa and some fighters. They fought Juan Lopez, and then he'd have another fighter. No trainer that is really respected is going to be with any fighter every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's very limited exclusivity. I mean, unless you're the Petronellis who basically made their living Marvin Hagler, which is a little bit different. That happens. But you think Robert Garcia is every single day in camp with Virgil Ortiz leading into his fight next week? No.
Exactly.
So
that's
for him to say, well, he wasn't there, again, what was the percentage of attendance? The way trainers get treated in this game, I think, is downright criminal at times.
You could actually, you could make the argument that they get treated more unfairly than the fighters themselves. We often hear about the fighters, poor fighters, but hey, the trainers seem to get the worst end of the stick. If they get the stick, they get it with no Vaseline.
They don't even get a contract most of the time. And look, I've had this argument with people. I say, well, why should trainers get 10%? And I say, well, wait a minute. And this always happens when it's like a multi-million-dollar payday. When a trainer sticks with a guy from 0-0 and builds him up to 30-0 and they start making millions, when you start making that $300,000 for a $3 million fight, you're actually getting paid for all those days as a 4-round fighter when you're getting like $50 for 8 weeks worth of work. Ooh. That's really what it's about. And nobody understands that. And
trainers, how many times trainers have fed their fighters when they were kids? Fed them, lived at their houses. There's so many stories of that. And then the minute the kid makes some real money, he bounces.
Right. And look, Abel Sanchez tells a great story that he helped develop Terry Norris. And look, when a guy makes $1,000, they're happy to give you $100. Get to $5,000, they'll give you $500. You get to $100,000, they'll give you $10,000. You start getting to like $500,000. That $50,000 check, boy, it becomes a little bit of an issue. And then when you get to that championship, maybe pay-per-view level, then it becomes, we're going to have to cap you. We're going to put a cap on you. And I'm thinking to myself, what about all those years of work where you really got nothing? And again, that's for trainers who are there from the beginning, not guys that take over 35 fights in. That's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And, to me, it's really unfair that a lot of these guys are not protected. But what are they going to do? I mean, they've already put years into this kid, and that's the thing that gets me. Andre Rozier is a guy that he was there from the beginning with Danny Jacobs. He's one of the most respected, liked men in boxing. And I don't know if anyone's going to say it publicly. There's not a lot of people on Danny Jacobs' side in this dispute. There isn't.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, listen, if apparently Rozier went through the whole cancer saga, right, with Jacobs.
Yeah, I mean, Danny. Look, here's my belief that I don't know if Andre was expecting 10% out of. I think Danny Jacobs made between 12 and 14 million, as the zone was just spending, a lot of money on stuff that wasn't worth it. I don't think he was expecting 1.2 or 1.4 million. To me, if it would have got to a $500,000 check or a little bit less, then you're showing some respect. But the amount he got, Andre thought it was a slap in the face. That's simple.
Yeah, because I mean, and the other thing that I heard made it worse was that he didn't even call him or anything. It wasn't like with Triple G and Abel Sanchez, where reportedly Triple G told him, "Look, listen, this is what we want. We feel is fair. Do you agree?" And Sanchez said no, and they parted ways.
Right.
Yeah, this one there was no phone.
Good point. At least Golovkin paid his 10% or whatever that fee or percentage was with Sanchez to the very last fight that they worked together. A lot of times you would be stunned how many times trainers don't actually know what they're going to be getting till after the fight, and a lot of it is tied into, am I going to win or lose? And if I lose, I'm going to scapegoat you and probably take at least half your pay away. That's the truth. And look, here's another thing, and I was told this by a trainer, that one of the reasons why sometimes you really don't know the real purses for the fighters, while they'll put a lower figure on the commission sheet than what's actually being paid out, is because now they could pay 10% from that lower figure to the trainer than the real number. That happened. There's bookkeeping.
There's
like
some
Enron.
Yeah, like they say Hollywood, they do the same thing, right? Like they tell the actor, well, we can pay you this set amount, or we can give you back-end points. And then when the film comes out, they go, well, actually, we can't give you back-end points because the movie didn't make any money. So it's those Hollywood accounting practices that they talk about.
And so this is where I go back to Hagler, that when the Petronelli said, hey, Marvin, if it's about your 33%, we'll take less. Bob Arum literally told me, he gets real animated, Bob. He actually slammed his hand on the table and he said, God damn it, when I fight, you get your 33%. That doesn't happen anymore. And another thing, Jimmy, which I love about Hagler, his first 7 years of his career, he was a construction worker on the Petronelli's yard.
Jeez.
How many boxers would do that today?
He was living at Petronelli's house and shit. Yeah, he came in with holes in his sneakers. When he first met me, he had holes in his sneakers. But I wasn't at Goody's funeral, but I know people who were, and they said when Hagler came in, he was a mess. Like, he didn't sit in there for a while. Like, he walked up to the casket and took off his sunglasses, and his eyes were all swollen. He reached down. I guess he kissed Goody on the head, whispered something in his ear, turned around, wiped his eyes, put his glasses, and walked right out. Went and sat with, in a different area, but they said he was really, really upset. So it was a true love with those guys. You know what I mean?
There will never be a Marvin Hagler again. The culture is such like it preaches about not being loyal. That it's always about the bottom line. It's like it's kind of disarming. It's kind of disappointing to see what's happened. And Marvin Hagler, to me, represented a better day and time. I'm not saying the guy was perfect. No one is. But I thought there was a real integrity with him that simply does not exist, not only throughout boxing, but not just sports, but in this whole world. And so when I got that news...
No, definitely. Not in this world at all.
It really hit me.
Yeah, I can imagine if you grew up with one fighter, or if he was the one that the first one that really introduced you to the world of boxing. Yeah, it can be especially because he came out of nowhere too, by the way. I mean, I had that's the bizarre thing. I'm hearing
66 in 2021. 66 is not old.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the other thing.
No, not at all.
I'm hearing on Twitter that there's some shenanigans about a certain vaccine, but I mean, who knows whether that's true or not.
Yeah. Yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see if that subject is even broached. And look, Tommy Hearns is one of these guys who's probably not on social media a lot, maybe doesn't even care. But when he just threw that out there, I was like, oh, Tommy, you're going to get it. Tommy, you're going to get it.
Yeah, man, I don't...
Well, I know the local news hasn't touched it. They started reporting that, locally here, and especially in New Hampshire where Marvin moved to, they didn't even mention the vaccine angle. But again, I've been hearing, again, on the side, in the rumor that he went in last week, got his vaccine shot, and had an adverse reaction, was sent to ICU, was released, and then bam. Which doesn't make sense. Why would you release somebody unless they, were looking better and got sick again? I don't know.
Beijing Biden will cover that one up, I promise you.
God. All right, well, fellas,
AOC said she's a liar.
I'm going to go watch the Estrada Chocolatito fight, see if I was crazy or not. But enjoy talking to you guys this weekend. We'll do it more often, man. I really enjoy what you guys bring to the game.
Thank you, man.
That's Steve, awesome to talk to you again. Steve, my girl said hi. She just wanted me to tell you to say hi. Tell Steve I said hello.
Oh, absolutely, Jim. And Jimmy, when we start opening up this world again, I'll get out to an East Coast fight. We all got to meet up, toast the family.
Absolutely. Awesome, brother. You be safe. All right, Steve. Peace.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, fellas.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for calling in again. It was a pleasant surprise, man. Thank you. Thank you. Take it easy, man.
We got to do some more fantasy fights, man. We got to do some more. I like talking to him about the fantasy fights, man.
Yeah, I could talk to him all day, man, about
I was trying
boxing,
to talk to you about that 3 or 4 times now.
No, come on. No, but anyway, shout out to Steve Kim.
No, I'm sorry, go.
Yeah, real quick. Shout out to Steve Kim for calling in and check out the 3 knockdown rule with Mario Lopez, one of the best podcasts, if not the best out there. Short, compact, and sweet, and to the point. So shout out to Steve Kim for that insight that he always gets.
I think he likes being on his own, doing his own thing.
Well, can you imagine, like he told us, imagine ESPN, you love boxing, you want to cover a certain aspect of it, and ESPN comes over, it's like, nope, talk about McGregor, a guy who doesn't,
yeah, talk about McGregor.
I can't imagine.
You mean the non-boxer?
Yeah, you mean the guy the guy who punches old people in fucking pubs. Hey, by the way, real quick, shout out to, I got to get to a couple of super chats here. We fell behind. Shout out to Chris K, who said, Morada is a walking heavy bag with a puncher's chance. Oh, well, that will remain to be seen, Chris K.
90 seconds.
Shout out to Truth's son, who donated the super chat as well. He says, you cannot ruin a fighter's destiny over consistent wrong decisions and narratives on media and commentary. We don't want Sucre to suck the life out of Truth. That's right, Truth's son. But I also, you know what it is? So if we don't allow Sucre to get away with it, then the damage he can do can only be so much. That's why we got to step up and voice our opinions. Well, it might not fix the whole thing, but it's better than just sitting around seething about fucking Sucre, Carlos Sucre. Remember the name. Michael Poe, shout out to Michael Poe, says, Steve Kim, this is for having him on the show. God bless. Well, thank you, Michael Poe. Certainly a nice surprise from Steve to drop by on this Sunday evening. Truth Son donated again, and he said, if Triple G had won the first versus Clenfella, the perception would be totally different of Canelo. You destroy a fighter's career and momentum and manufacture false greatness. Yeah, those wrong decisions can have an impact too. Absolutely, man.
And Steve Kim feels that, and he's got a lot of sources. So, this comes with some, you should like pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. He's like, look, man, he thinks he's a little salty about the business side of boxing, and maybe he's taking the go away tour with the Zone. He's having these light fights. He's not really interested in these fights in the middle, to get to like a Canelo or somebody like that. Mm-hmm. He'd rather just, hey, if you don't want me to fight Canelo, then fuck it, I'll fight like my number 1 mandatory.
Yeah, that could be it. That could be it as well, man.
And he's still good enough that it's a mismatch, right? At least with Cez Mereta. Like those guys, he's still good enough that he makes them look like shit.
Hey, by the way, real final super chat here. I gotta read. Truth Son donated. He says, "My GERD could tell you the history of Nicolino Loki." Yeah, from what I hear, he's a real. Yeah, he's a real an analyst of the game, McGirt, and the way he fought lets you know all about that as well. But fellas, what do you think about that then? About the whole Canelo? Recognize you brought up the good point that it does seem to a certain extent that Canelo, especially after the positive test, it seems like that's when he really ended up disliking Triple G, even though Triple G didn't tell him to fucking take clenbuterol.
I mean, I've always said it. It's that I want to be better than my big bro. And then when I, look, I'm not throwing shade at him, and I'm not throwing shade at his fans, but he's one of those guys that understands that the politics are in his favor. He probably understands also in his mind, maybe not in yours, and especially if you're a fan of his, that he has a lot of advantages, and he's like, that's the best I can do. It's like barely, win a fight where I got other people thinking he still beat me. That fucks with you especially you don't have to admit it to nobody, but you got to admit it to yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're an arrogant man, and I'm not saying he's just totally arrogant, but he's a confident person. I think he's arrogant in a sense that he looks at details like that. And go look at his faces after the first fight and after the second fight. He had that face like, damn, bro, I could still barely eke a decision over him, even with the political advantages and maybe, and I say this maybe, with physical advantages over him in the fight.
Yeah. You know what I think also fuck with him a little bit? I really do think, because you said he's arrogant. Fighters, they have to straddle that fine line between arrogance and confidence. He's a very confident guy. When he went in there with that Triple G fight, I think he was supremely confident that, hey, this guy that everyone says I'm avoiding and he's really the best middleweight, I'm going to show you how it's done. And for the first 3 rounds, it seemed like his hand speed was a little bit too much for Triple G. But then Triple G started pumping that jab. Canelo got tired a little bit. And you could tell Canelo's like, shit, things aren't going the way I want them to 100%. And I think that too might have irked with him. Like, fuck, I went in there 100% to try to outbox the guy and I couldn't pull it off decisively, So that's why he fought the way he fought in the second fight too, because he said, look, if I want to get to this guy, I might have to change my approach. And even then, it was a very close fight, man. So, yeah, that's what... Again, here's the thing, though. I do give Canelo credit because everybody says, well, people have said that when most of the fighters he fights nowadays, they don't let their hands go. That guy is very quick on the trigger, man. On the counterpunch trigger, Canelo is.
Look, I give Canelo credit. He does have good skills. It's crazy for people to just say he's a bomb and he's protected or something like that. I think that's crazy. He does have excellent skills, excellent condition, and he's always trying to get better at what he does. But I just give Triple G more credit. That's the way I look at it. I give him more credit. Because in terms of like gangster, warrior, all that stuff, who really puts it on the line? Triple G.
Well, yeah, I can agree with that. But think about it this way. When people say, well, his last opponents, they've been sort of told not to hit him or whatever. Triple G walks through most guys, the exception of Daniel Jacobs and Derevchenko. Although the Derevchenko, he did look all screwed up. His face, Derevchenko did. So he did take a beating, and Jacobs did go down in the Triple G fight. But other than that, there's not a lot of guys that can go 12 rounds against him. Canelo fought him, and Triple G couldn't walk through him either. I think he got the best of him definitely in the first fight, and in the second, if you had him winning, I can agree with that. But it just goes to show you, even Triple G was tentative in there against Canelo. And that's how good Triple G is. So don't be surprised when other guys go in there and they refuse to let their hands go against a guy who's countering them every time to the body or upstairs. You know what I mean? It's like, that's why, look at the Callum Smith fight, man. The guy whenever he did try to load up on a shot, he was getting countered. I mean, what do you expect?
He was too afraid that he was off rhythm. He couldn't, he was just, throwing arm shots when he was throwing them. That's because he was afraid. And I always say, I don't know why he's afraid, right? I'm just telling you what I could see with my own eyes. Mm-hmm. He was afraid to touch him. It's an easy night for Canelo if that's going to, because Canelo is a bully. He's a fight bully. Mm-hmm. The way you handle that is you start stiffening him. You start hitting him with hard jabs. Trust me, you can hit him. All right. I mean, I know Golovkin is a good fighter, and we give him a lot of credit for that. But you also have to have the mindset. Now, you might get fucked up. He might have better condition than you down the road. He might be able to keep up the strength, his strength for the latter part while you start declining. But just to sit there and say, I'm not going to fucking throw any punches, it's just pathetic. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but I agree with that. If you want to call it pathetic, but when people say that there's something must have happened where they were told not to throw a punch or whatever, look.
Well, you see, I don't know that. That's conspiracy talk. And yeah, sometimes I have my own perception. I just go by what I can see with my own eyes. And what I see is these guys are they're not throwing punches back. I think they're afraid. That's what I think.
But even Triple G wasn't exactly letting his hands go against Canelo.
Well, yeah,
and that's Triple G.
He had to be smarter, of course.
But why?
A lot smarter.
But that's the thing. The why? Because Canelo's not that. Listen, like Steve Kim said, the people that shit on Triple G and they're Canelo fans, they're doing themselves a disservice. Because then you go, well, wait a minute. Why didn't if Triple G sucks, why didn't Canelo run through him? And I think it's the same thing also vice versa. The people that say, well, Canelo is not that great, blah blah blah. Then why didn't Triple G run through him? I mean, I think the first fight he definitely won it, no doubt about it. But in the second fight, once they went to toe to toe, it wasn't exactly a walk in the park for Triple G. So all I'm saying is let's try to keep things into perspective. Because it's not like Canelo's this.
It's not that. Nobody listen. Maybe towards the ending of his career, when he's made all the money in the world and he wants to fight till somebody beats him, you might see somebody walk through him, but it's not going to be easy. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. It is what it is. He's a hard fighter, Canelo. And look, I'm not saying he's natural. Believe me. I mean, if I had to bet, of course I wouldn't tell you he's natural. But then again, how many guys at this point are? And Billy Joe Saunders, one last thing about him, because I know I've been talking a lot. I think he's going to get Canelo's just going to counter body. That's all he's going to do. And I don't know if I've never seen.
I think I'm almost right now. I think I'm taking Canelo to stop him right now. Let's see as the fight gets closer.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me, man. Wouldn't surprise me. By the way, I see people are trying to call in because the phone lines expire, so I'm going to have to open them up again. So you recognize, and Jimmy, I got a question for you. When it comes to, now that we had Chocolatito and Gonzalez, next big fight, which one are you looking forward to the most? Taylor Ramirez or Fury Joshua if it happens, or Virgil Ortiz? Like, what do you guys think? What's your opinion on the future of boxing?
I hope that Tyson Fury and AJ fight happens. And if it don't, I would like for them to fight. Their obligation mandatories or rematch. As much as I don't like Deontay Wilder, if Wilder wants that third fight, and you can't make the Joshua fights until like later on to the ending of this year, then take a stay busy fight, and that's what I hope for. I doubt that's going to happen, right? Because I know it's more to it than that. But yeah, I mean, listen, Taylor Ramirez. What can you say? Is for undisputed. I like that. I think there's way too many belts to make undisputed. I think that's kind of stupid, but that is the way it is. And glad that they're doing it. Actually, I'm glad that they're doing that.
You know what though? I wanted to ask you now that okay, you gave us your thoughts on that one. I forgot to mention. I don't know if you guys saw it. That Keith Thurman did an interview. I don't know where. I looked at this from World Boxing News, which I think is some sort of African.
I know
right. Well, just to let people know what it is, and I'll let you guys talk about it. Thurman is saying that he says that Pacquiao's hands felt like cement, and that he says he says, I did not regulate any form of testing in that fight. And then he said that his hands felt like cement. So he's sort of trying to intimate, hey, the fight wasn't on the up and up. But what do you guys think about that statement from Keith Thurman?
Sounds like a sore loser.
Bitch.
Oh.
Yeah, I could say that.
Look, there's been no proof at all at any point in time. The man he tested positive for anything. An ex-con actually made that accusation, and Floyd Mayweather Sr. After he embarrassed the shit out of him for knocking out Ricky Hatton, who he was training. And it's been a stigma he's had to fight ever since that he hasn't deserved. Now, if he turns out that we've proved that he has been taking this whole time, so be it. But until it comes up, till there's evidence there, there's not even a smoking gun. Unlike Floyd, who had 3 smoking guns and he paid to seal them up. So
yeah, I don't believe anybody who did 10 years in prison and is feeding off his son You know what I'm saying? I'm
he
sorry.
did 10 years in prison?
What kind of gloves did Pacquiao wear against him?
Reyes, right?
Does anybody remember?
I think
What's
it was
that?
Reyes. Let me see the picture.
Reyes?
I got a picture here.
I know Reyes makes which model, but they make a horsehair glove. Maybe it's been a while since he's been punched by horsehair gloves, but horsehair gloves, I mean, by the third round, it's basically your knuckles are just up against the leather. It's just like getting punched by leather-wrapped hands. You know what I mean? So that could be it. Maybe he allowed him to wear puncher's gloves. Who knows?
Well, when has Thurman ever faced a real puncher? I mean, let's face it. Sean Porter may be strong. He's not a puncher. Danny Garcia at welterweight, I don't need to say my opinion of him again on this air. That he's not a real puncher. So when has he ever felt like a real solid punch from an actual welterweight? He hasn't. So
In fact, Pacquiao's not even that.
True, but he's a super level above everything else that
exactly.
Thurman's ever faced.
Exactly.
Even a 40-something-year-old Pacquiao is like worlds above anything he's ever faced. And I'm not trying to discredit Garcia or Porter any more than I already have on this show. It's not the fact that they're C-rate fighters, but they're not on Manny's level on their best days and his worst. So what's Thurman ever? I don't care how many times he's sparred in the gym. In the professional ring, who's he ever fought that's been a real puncher?
Exactly.
Thurman's the epitome. Thurman embodies everything I hate about the sport, to be honest with you.
Damn. Jimmy going all in, man. Hey, by the way, I opened up the phone lines and we already have people calling. Let's see if they work. 351. Can you hear me? 351. You're on the air.
What's up, Mike Poe? What's going on, guys?
Oh, Michael, thank you for calling in. And thank you for your contributions, by the way, man. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem. It's cheap, the phones. Like 20 minutes, I pay like 40 cents. It's a great deal. So I wanted to ask him some questions, but I didn't want to embarrass you guys. So it's good that you didn't pick up. But are you guys ever going to do a show on corruption? Because they got some real good stuff that I would like to talk about.
Yeah, we can definitely do a show on corruption, man. I mean, we would have to pick one instance or a couple because there's just so many, right? I mean,
can I ask the caller what exact questions? Just curious, what questions were you going to ask him that would have been embarrassing to us? I'm just curious.
I want to bring it up because I don't know what he knows or if it's disrespectful, if he agrees, if it is or isn't that way. I just didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't want to.
No, hey, I was just curious.
You know?
Yeah, fair enough.
But like I said, I don't want to keep pushing it. But my brother worked for the WWE, and I traveled around the world, and he met like a journeyman. He didn't remember who, he could care less. But they get the licenses the same way as boxers do, and basically it was coming down to the point that you really can't complain. These commissions are basically not real. I mean, they're real to a sense if somebody makes a stink, but not real enough. Like, Wilder's full of shit. The only way you get Fury in trouble is in a real court. So my thing is, the cheating isn't like the old days. It's from the promoters. It ain't from the backyards being in Australia and other countries. And I've watched so many documentaries. I keep coming to the same thing, and the patterns are the same. They got the landslide judges and misdirection. And they have the other two, and they have to watch carefully in case there's a knockdown or something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, they just keep going with it goes. After that last Canelo fight, I went and saw the Triple G Canelo 2. You wouldn't believe that the comments now are different on 3 different channels. People now at times are changing their opinion. And also, I saw a few channels with Loma also saying things, breaking it down, and saying different things. So it's like people will catch on eventually. And if they want a real sport, they'll get fed up. If they want WWE, sports entertainment, that's a different story. Like, I'm sick of that. I just want it to be on the up and up, that's all. I'm not the first one. I love Triple G, and I admitted when he lost to Derevyanchenko, a lot of people got upset, said, nah, maybe he could have won. I was like, nah, man, he lost. But, you know, he was getting older. But,
yeah.
You know.
I mean, listen.
What it is.
What do you guys think? I mean, like I keep mentioning Carlos Sucre. He's the guy that gave Estrada 9 rounds. I think at a certain point, what can we do as fans? Just essentially at this point voice their opinions on this type of platform?
Here's the thing, BDA, right? We start doing that. They'll hide Sucre. Hold on. Let me just say, they'll hide Sucre, right? And they'll bring in a new guy that's just like him.
Right.
They have a system. They have a system in place. It's like sending your hitters, right? You send your hitter. Okay, some people saw him, so you're not gonna send that same guy. You're gonna send a different guy now, right? And when somebody sees him, then I'll send another guy.
But essentially, they can't use this same guy, at least, right?
Well, they have to maybe either teach them to all have the same criteria. There's too much personal opinions involved in the scoring too. Like, you know what I mean? There should be certain criteria that I know there's certain criteria they're supposed to follow, but clearly they don't. You know what I mean? There's too many, like Adelaide Bird. How the fuck does she judge boxing? I mean, one thing I like about Dana White, you're that bad as a judge in his sport, he just doesn't have you back. He just bounces you out.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's one thing.
That's a one-person entity, whereas boxing's got so many different entities.
52.
Someone's going to use
52
you.
commissions.
Someone's going to use you. You got the different commissions, you got the different promoters, you got the different countries, you got the different fighters. Nothing's, and Teddy Atlas has been calling for years for commission, and it might fix things up a little bit here until the corruption.
Hold on. Before we continue, let's get Michael, final thoughts, man, because we do have to move on. Go ahead.
Final thought, I'll let you go. I was just going to ask Jimmy. I was going to ask him. It's not incompetence, in my opinion, because the same judges get it right when it's not important. So getting more cameras, extra guys. If it's truly corrupt and it's the promoter that won't change anything, I don't know what to do except put the word out there. I want to believe that it's on the up and up. And I used to think I could pick them. Oh, only these fights they'll do it. Now it seems they're doing it everywhere. I don't know if it's the pandemic, but it's happening a lot more. Do you guys agree that it's happening more?
They should be judged the way, like, say, NFL, for instance. NFL referees, every game, they have an office of, referees and a committee that looks at each game. They call too many penalties. If they, there's a whole bunch of criteria. And the guys who do the best job at the end of the year get to do the playoffs. And the best crew gets to do the Super Bowl with big rewards at the end. So you get paid for your performance. Boxing, there's no incentive to do better. They don't have to answer any questions. All the things that are in place in other sports to keep this from happening are not in place in boxing. That's where you could start.
Yeah, that's a great point, man.
Again, you need a unified commission of stories.
Hold on.
You need a commission, yep.
Yeah, that's Jay. You bring up a great point, man. Listen, Michael, we gotta go, man. We gotta go. But
that was it. No, that was perfect. That's all I wanted to get in. And that was a
Take care, buddy.
That was a real surprise call.
Yeah, it was a pleasant
guys,
surprise.
Take care of
man.
yourself.
Take it easy, Michael. Thank you for calling in, man.
Take it easy, buddy.
Thank you for calling in, man. Yeah, that was a pleasant surprise there on a Sunday evening by Steve Kim. Let's go to another phone call real quick. 226. 226, you're on the air. 226, what's on your mind?
Fellas!
Oh, jeez, I got rid of Michael for this.
Yeah, I got to go. Bye.
Hey,
boy.
Hold on. I want to talk about the fight, man.
Oh,
go ahead.
Who's this?
It's the Slugger Sam. Come on. But listen, I'm going to make it very clear.
Please.
I'm not calling a grown man Chocolatito. I'm not calling a grown man chocolate. All right? I'm going to make it very clear. His mother called him Roman Gonzalez, and that's what I'm going to call him.
I agree, man. It's like calling a grown man Slugger Sam. I mean, that it's insane. And it's borderline homosexual, if you ask me. But go ahead, Slugger. What's it?
Oh, no. It's not the same thing, man, okay? It's not the same thing. But whatever. Listen. Anyways, fellas, I only need about 20 seconds and I'm out of here. Robbery. Peace.
All right. Well, listen, I think, that's what most people... All right. Oh, he hung up. All right. Yeah, I think that's what most people are saying, man. Robbery. And some people are saying, well, come on, it was a competitive fight. I don't know, man. I was like, guys, I don't know how you can... Especially when it's the judge that gave him gave Estrada the last 5 rounds. I mean, come on.
I wrote a piece with Boxing Truth back in the day when Sergio Martinez came up way short against Paul Williams in the first fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was very brief, but Andre Ward himself. Now, I'm like Stu. I caught the highlights. I haven't seen the full fight.
Whoa.
So I'm making this general statement of the entire sport, not of this particular one, okay?
Okay.
So when it comes time for a decision, Andre Ward said himself, I had it set, you could go 7-5 either way. So someone's got a 2-point lead with no knockdowns and no point deductions. First person to 7 points wins. So you have a 2-point lead. But then you've got, he said, 3 or 4 swing rounds. Well, if one judge actually thinks all of the swing rounds goes the other way, the scorecard is going to look demonstratively different. It's going to look one-sided because this is all just numbers.
Sure.
The numbers come, so numbers don't translate to what you see inside the ring. And
I agree.
Stories. One time I was next to Harold Letterman watching one of Larry Donald's fights. He fought some no name. It was on the undercard to a Christy Martin fight. It was live. And the fight was very competitive. But at the end of the day, it was a 10-round fight. It was almost 110 to like 108 easily because he won almost every round. They were tough rounds. It was a tough fight, but he won almost every round. At the end of the day, those numbers add up to wide margins if it goes the way. And I'm not speaking specifically for this fight, but when people cry robbery, but you say you yourself think that there's 3 or 4 swing rounds, those 3 or 4 swing rounds make it from a 2-point fight to like a 4 or 5-point fight.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You're right. But here's the problem in this scenario. But I do agree that we could talk about other close fights where that does apply. But in this one, it's the fact that this judge decided to give the last 5 rounds to Estrada when most people actually saw Gonzalez taking control more or less in those last 5 rounds. And that if that judge would have been replaced with a competent judge who would have gone along with what most people saw, Chocolatito would have gotten the decision. That's the main problem. You're right, though. If it would have been 117, 111, and this guy would have spread them out in a way that made sense. But the fact that he decided to give him especially the last round. Watch the fight and you tell me, Jay, if you think Estrada wins that last round. And I mean, it's
well, I mean, the highlights showed most over 2.5 minutes of the last round. So I'm without even seeing the full fight yet. I agree with you guys. The last round, I don't see how Estrada could have won it from what they put on the highlights. Now, you can make anyone look like a winner in highlights, but the highlights looked pretty. They didn't look one-sided like they were cut and pasted together. And from what I saw, it looked like Chocolatito should have won also because he was the effective aggressor. He was the effective. It wasn't just coming forward. He was landing effective punches throughout from what I saw. So when I see the entire thing, I'll give you another breakdown. But I thought, from what I could tell, the limited video I saw, I thought he won also.
I thought in the last round, I think he almost outlanded him almost 2-1 in the 12th round. So, I mean, either colossally stupid, pathologically dishonest, or you need your medication adjusted if you think fucking Estrada won that last round. You know what I mean? It defies all logic.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen.
I hear you on that one.
But you know what? To Jay's point, I completely agree because that's something that I tried to say here on this show, but it just couldn't come out right away. But it's true. Like if you have a close fight and one guy decides to give 7 or 8 or even 9 rounds to the other guy, well, it was a close fight. It just so happened that one judge decided to give it 9. But in this scenario, I cannot agree with that based on the last 5 rounds, which were pretty close clear, I should say, to Gonzalez. But listen, I have to rewatch the fight myself. I don't know if you guys are going to have time to do that. I'm going to have to find time to do it, but I want to, just for the sake of this show and for the sake of clarity. Slugger Sam in the chat room, by the way, says, Slugger is because I punch hard. I've said this a million times. Pay attention. Well, we'll try to pay attention next time, Slugger. Let's go to the phone lines real quick. We got another phone call here. 484. You're in the air. 484. What's on your mind?
What's going on, guys?
How you doing, man?
What's up to everybody? Hey, I disagree that boxing is the most corrupt sport. I think NFL and basketball are way easier to rig because you could call, like the refs could call something on every single play. Like look at the NFL, they could call a flag on every single play if they choose to, but they only call when it fits the script. Like if you watch the replay, like if you record the game, there could be a holding on every single play. There could be a pass interference on every single play.
It's supposed to be flagrant
when it fits the script. Also, on basketball, there could be a reaching call. There could be an offensive foul call.
Traveling.
Call it when it fits. Traveling, everything. Like, look at LeBron James. He takes like fucking 8 steps to get to the basket without dribbling. He never gets caught.
Yeah, he ain't lying. It's crazy.
You know, like, it's just easier to rig those sports. That's why they're mainstream sports, because the owners can control who wins. You know, like that collective bargaining agreement in the NFL where all the teams take a share out of the entire league's profit. There you go. It doesn't matter who wins. They just take turns fucking winning. They take turns sharing the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. That's true, man. Yeah.
That shit is a big ass scam.
I mean, it's true.
Except when you're Tom Brady.
Rigged.
Except when you're Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the exception to the rules.
Tom Brady did it again. Oh. Yeah, that shit's a scam, bro. In boxing, there's only 2 dudes, 1 ref, and 3 judges. That's only, how many people is that? That's 5, 6 people. But in the NFL, there's 11 people on each side. And then there's how many refs?
It's all about
to get
the calls,
one
man.
person to rig that shit.
You know what? It reminds me real quick. I'm a soccer casual, but I remember I have to go a long ways back in Korea, Japan, the World Cup. They gave Korea a lot of breaks against Italy. I forget what exactly happened. I think it was a goal that was called against Italy or something. And then when South Korea they played Spain, they called the offside. So soccer, it's one thing also. They there's a lot of money involved. A lot of money. And in fact, the whole Italian league was, I believe, or 2 teams were demoted to the lower leagues because of a corruption scandal that occurred during 2006. So, yeah, man. I mean, look, boxing gets a bad rap because it's more mainstream to talk about the gangsters in that area, in that sport. But you're telling me all the other sports aren't compromised as well, man? NFL, I mean, yeah.
I mean, look, in basketball, they literally called it the Jordan rule. Like, you had announcers calling it. Now, that doesn't take away anything from Jordan. He's great. But because they would stuff the middle and hit him hard, right? They said, now that's going to be called a foul. You know, there's a certain way you touch him.
Shit,
to bring that. But Jordan's great, though. He is fucking great.
Right, but then the question becomes, well, how great
was he? Right.
Yeah, if he had those advantages.
Because no man lives above. You know, no man can swim underwater for fucking 3 days without dying. Basically, the analogy.
Exactly.
I fucked that analogy up a little bit. I don't know if you noticed, but yeah, something like that.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
No, you didn't mess that up at all. That was right on the
Well, hey, give me some credit. I just learned that analogy. I just learned it, like literally
there you go.
a couple of days.
I don't even know. I'm still waiting for you to get it right.
I got it wrong, yeah.
All right, listen, caller, anything else you want to say before we move on?
Yeah, in the NFL, all you got to do is get to the kicker. Just have him kick it a little bit to the right, and there you go. There you go. But try rigging a boxing match. Like, you got to get to one of the judges, and then all the fans know anyways. They know it was rigged. And the NFL, everybody just accepts it. Oh, he fucked up. That's all I got to say about that. Boxing is not as rigged as the other sports.
Well, we could have a whole a whole episode on that. Actually, if we do a corruption episode, we're going to talk about that. That's a good point. Anyway, listen, thank you for calling in, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right, man? Take it easy.
All right.
Yeah, but I will say, though, that, with boxing, it's, you know what, to a certain extent, it's like in life. At which point do they stop getting away with it? Well, it's dependent upon what we fans do. Because, again, I keep saying, Carlos Sucre, he's the guy that scored at 117-111 for Estrada. You can write to the commission, man, or to the networks and complain. But I don't know how many people actually do that. It's not like in the 50s where if somebody saw half a tit on TV, they would flood the networks with the letters saying, I saw half a tit, how dare you?
Well, you got corporations changing the fucking box covers. I mean, like their paraphernalia that they've had for 7 years. I think they had 3 people write letters about Aunt Jemima and complaints. I saw on the news like 3 letters, 3 emails, and they changed the box. So I don't know. I guess if you have, depends on what you're bitching about.
Yeah, or how
and
you're
who's
bitching.
listening. Or so I referenced Sergio Martinez, Paul Williams earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I was with the Boxing Truth. They actually had the on behind the scenes. The regular calls didn't get it. They gave me the referee's name. I don't remember his name and his phone number. So I called him.
Oh.
And he answered the phone. And I said, "Hi, this is Gerald Jones from the Boxing Truth." And all he did, he cut me straight off. Says, "All I have to say is call the Nevada State Athletic Commission." Hung up the phone on me.
Whoa.
That was it. So there's certain things you can do, but I mean, like I don't remember the guy's name. We can obviously go back and look in which scorecard it was. It was the most lopsided card for that fight. But like I said, I went to call the guy, and then of course the commission didn't care because they were like, "Hey, look, it was his opinion. It's not supposed to be an opinion. It's supposed to be a criteria of how you judge a fight." And just like Teddy Atlas says, they'll be back again in a couple months. They'll drop him off like Recognize said for 3 or 4 big fights, and then like next year we'll see him again.
That's interesting that you mentioned that well, it's his opinion, and like you said, well, no, it's not. I mean, if they would have worded saying it's his professional opinion, then I could understand. But even then, didn't they try to go through the Lennox Lewis Holyfield fight, and they made the judges explain themselves, or did I get that memory wrong? Didn't they ever?
I think something along those lines happened because they thought it was so one-sided that they wanted an investigation done on the whole thing. Lennox Lewis pressed that and kept Holyfield in court during when they're supposed to be training for the fight. And I mean, I don't know if that was part of the game plan, but there was court hearings about it and everything.
Hey, by the way, Jay, the judge you were talking about the first Williams Martinez fight, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I looked up the name of that judge. Yeah, this motherfucker scored it. Pierre Benoit from New Jersey. He scored it 119-109 for Williams, and that was with the whole knockdowns and the whole trading and war. He decided to give 119. So that's what, 11 rounds?
That's insane. 11 rounds.
Well,
11 rounds.
It's physically impossible to get 119 due to mathematics, unless he just said, "Oh, well, that was a slip and didn't count it as a knockdown." If you lose by a knockdown, that's 2 points. That's automatically 118 points.
Well, it's actually in a knockdown. It's possible for a referee to do this. I mean, judgment. A lot of times they don't. It starts off, say, if the guy gets knocked down from a punch, right? So it's 10-8. But if that guy comes back and actually puts it on the other dude enough, it's within his discretion to make it a 10-9 round.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what they did to Holyfield. That's what they did to Holyfield against Michael Moore and screwed him out of the heavyweight title in the first fight.
Mm. Yeah. But it's interesting because this guy, like if you look at the Paul Williams Martinez fight, which was a great fight, by the way, if you look at the other judges, one guy had a 115-113 and one had it 114-114 a draw. So when you have these close scorecards and then this wide-ass scorecard when there were 2 knockdowns in the fight, that's the one that makes you go...
What are they watching?
Yeah. And by the way, he's still... That's what I love about BoxRec. You can check the record. This guy still... Well, the last fight he judged was Shakur Stevenson Alberto Guevara in July 2019. But yes, ever since then, he still got steady work. Look at this. Thomas Lamana versus Gabriel Bracero, Ernesto Perez, Steve Moore. I mean, nobody thought to say, hey... But see, that back then I didn't have a channel. I was just on the message board. So, by the way, hold on a second. Somebody's calling in. We got to go to the phone line. And by the way, before I get to the phone line, sorry, but Savior Sammy says, BDA, can you tell the chat to respect me, please? Hey, respect is earned, not given, man. So shout out to Slugger Sam for his contribution. He donated. Again, he says, BDA, make me a mod. And I put in the work around here. Come on. Thank you for the contribution, Slugger, but you can't buy a wrench. And Truth Son says, shout out to Truth Son for his contribution. Says, I agree with Jimmy. Some things they won't change. All right, shout out to you guys for your contributions. Really appreciate it. All right, 419, you're on the air. 419, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, BDA?
Oh, T-Tone, is it?
Yeah.
What up, T-Tone?
Hey, just call it. Hey, heck yeah, I dropped in on the show when you guys were talking about, Canelo and Triple G too. Man, yeah. Hey, that fight was a good fight, but if you think that Triple G took something from Canelo, please go watch more boxing, to get that side on that.
All
right.
Hey, BDA.
You got.
Hey, look at last week's show. That was a good show. You know, when things were popping, you know how it was a good debate, and then after a couple hours into the show, it was getting a little boring. They had Stu and recognized talking about women's boxing, and then D called my name out, and I called in, and it went over Bucho's head. But hey, you got it. I called in with the sweet, let's go with the ballroom blitz, and man, Bucho hung up on me, man.
Well, because he didn't know what was going on. He just heard some.
Listen, man, Bucho's he doesn't have tolerance for a lot of things.
Well, you know what it is also, Tito, we can't play copyrighted music on the air. Otherwise, the stream gets taken down. So if you're playing fucking Ballroom Blitz, we're going to get taken down.
Yeah. Hey, did Brotherhood ever call in for that debate?
Brotherhood went missing, man. I stuck up for
him. He went missing. Wow, that's a shock.
I stuck up for him too, man, but he, it's all right.
Hey, but Tito, are you willing to Tito, are you willing to rematch D? Because I know it's unfinished business between you two. Are you willing to go to a rematch next Kumite?
Yeah, hey, look it. I debated D's topic. He had a speech ready and his recordings, and he didn't want to debate what I wanted to debate. So you know, huh? Yeah,
see,
I guess.
Hey,
Tito's
a little advice.
Couldn't that have been copyrighted also?
Hold on, one at a time.
A little advice, Tito. You got to come a little bit better, because the reason why you beat him.
Hold on, one at a time. Tito, hold on. Recognize wants to give you some advice, man. Go ahead, Recognize.
Tito, listen. I thought you won the first debate, okay? I thought you beat him. But I thought you beat him because D was a little too confident. He wasn't letting his hands go, for boxing analogy, right? So in the debate, he wasn't letting his flow go. And so I thought you edged it out. But he might come prepared for you this time. So that's all I'm going to let you know. And he might beat you. So you got to step up your game a little bit.
Hey, look, and it was truth. Look, after 2 hours into the show, hey, I got stoned.
Oh, come on. Excuses.
You got those, bro.
Excuses.
That's Tito.
I'll be ready.
I don't want to hear excuses on the Kumite, man. I don't want to hear excuses on the Kumite there, Tito. You bring it all or you don't bring it at all, man. It's on you.
So does Tito think Canelo beat Triple G both fights?
Yeah. He does, literally, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy's asking you if you believe Canelo won both Triple G fights.
Thanks. I can't say that Canelo took nothing from Triple G in the first fight, man.
No, do you think he won?
That's not exactly answering the question.
I can say that both ways. I gave it a draw,
In the first fight?
Okay. A good fight that made the part two
Tito could be politically correct when he wants to.
It showed in part two.
Hey, by the way, Tito, how about Chocolatito Estrada? How did you have that rematch scored?
I already know what he said.
Hey, now look. Hey, look at this, man. That was a killer fight, man. And at the end of the fight, I said 7-5 for Estrada. And I also said
give him extra points.
Round, and then 3 or 4 or 5 swing rounds. So if someone was to say, hey, it was
that I agree with. The swing rounds I agree with. There was a lot of them.
Swing these nuts, man. Listen, Tito, if you come up with this type of material, I don't see the rematch with D going your way next time around. So you better sharpen up, man, and don't get stoned.
At least you should be happy to know 10% of Twitter agrees with you.
Well, look at, it was a good fight, and I'm not going to put down somebody if they say that Chocolatito won a fight.
Sure,
it was a good fight, man, but if they would have gave it to Chocolatito, there would have been Estrada fans saying, hey, hold on there.
But would you agree if there was a poll that 72,000 boxing fans, and out of that, 90% said Chocolatito won? I would imagine a lot of those are Estrada fans, too, who are just being honest. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Hey, hey man, yeah. Hey, it was a good fight. Man, what a boxing fight. What a fight to judge. Man, that was a killer fight, man. the judges, that one judge, don't let that one judge who gave it a junk score, 9-3 for Estrada, man, that's junk. It was closer than that. It could have went both ways, but the judges said Estrada. Let's go. Hey, part three, right?
Yeah, hopefully, man. Hopefully, I mean, Estrada has to fight Sorong Visay. He's a fucking psycho of the highest order. So
you're looking at least a year from now, minimum, right? Chocolatito will just be older. I'm kind of in Steve Kim's camp. I mean, really, what is it going to solve at this point? I'd rather see the kid fucking. Well, he still have facilities. He doesn't need to keep getting hit. But again, I'm just a big Chocolatito fan, Roman fan, because who his mentor was.
Yeah, me too.
Was my favorite fighter.
I like both of the guys. Man, how can you not like them guys? But yeah, hey, and when I looked at because I was going for Estrada. I'm 2-4. And man, those rounds were so close, man. I was like, man, well, I think I could give that to Estrada. That's how close it was.
All right.
But if someone was to say, hey, Chocolatito won that round, man, how can you argue with that? That's how good it was.
All right.
But that's what boxing is: 2 sides in the fight and 2 sides in the talk after the fight. That was a killer fight.
It was fantastic, man.
And heck yeah, when's the next Kumite?
Well, the next Kumite will probably be either this week or next Sunday, because we want to do it on a day where we know for sure almost everybody is off, and we want to give everybody the opportunity to fight in the Kumite. Remember, fellas, there's Kumite rules where there's judges, and then there's Kumite blood sports where there's no moderator, and you guys just go at it and see who comes out on top. So it's your choice, man.
Yeah. Hey, and like I said, hey, the judges were good, but don't let that Slugger Sue be no judge.
Slugger Sam? Yeah, I don't think we're not gonna. Slugger Sam doesn't. Yeah, he's not a.
Slugger Sue.
Oh, Slugger Sue. Slugger Sue. All right, listen. He's not gonna take kindly to that, T-Tone. But anyway, listen. Thank you for your call. We have to move on, but thanks for your call and catch you.
Me the name first.
All right. Well, listen.
Hey, but all right, hey, I'll talk to you guys next time. Enjoying the show.
All right. Take it easy, T-Tone. Thank you for listening.
All right, recognize. All right, guys.
Take it easy, my friend.
I'll be seeing you.
All right. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, fellas. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Really make it happen there. All right, we got Precise and Revolucion. Thank you, fellas, for joining us. Precise. What's up with the... Let's start with Precise. What's up with the Gonzalez Estrada decision? You're saying it could have gone either way?
Can you hear me okay first and foremost?
Yeah, let's get to it, see if we can. Go ahead.
You sound like maybe it's just me, but I can barely hear you, Precise. I don't know if it's just me.
All right, well, I'll just scream then. Hope everyone is doing well. It's okay. On the night, I had it 7-5, could have seen a draw. I had it for Estrada on the night. I watched it again today. I thought Chocolatito won 7-5, so to me, it was one of them fights, I don't really know what else to say about that. But insofar as robbery, I mean, people saying robbery, I think it's a justifiable claim, you know what I mean? And the reason I say that is because when you look at that bad scorecard that everyone's been mentioning, well, how do we know? So there's clearly evidence of corruption, incompetence. How do we know the one that was 7-5 for Estrada wasn't the same case, but that guy was just better
smarter about it,
right? You know what I mean? So it's like
wasn't so obvious.
I could understand people saying it was a robbery, but I mean, at the same time, Estrada did make a case for at least a draw. I mean, it was one of them fights where these guys threw so many damn punches that it's so hard to really keep track of exactly what's happening, counting the punches and judging the fight, right? So I'll probably rewatch it again tomorrow, and I'll have Estrada winning it. I mean, because I'll be noticing different things. It's like every time I score it, it feels easy to score, but then, I watch it again, and I don't know if I'm noticing new things or I'm being influenced by what the people are saying. It was just one of them fights, man. I thought At this moment, I thought Chocolatito. That's all I can tell you.
But precise. Here's my issue real quick with I'm putting the scorecard up here on the screen. The fact is, and let's call the guy by his name, Carlos Sucre. He gave the last 5 rounds to Estrada. From 8 to 12, he gave him to Estrada, which I thought were the rounds where Gonzalez did his best work. So that's my main point of contention here, that something wasn't. It's either incredible incompetence or corruption.
12 is the one. 12 was definitely Roman.
If you... All right, Revolution, you go next.
No, you finish up, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you look at the people that... Like Steve Kim and other people who scored it for Gonzalez. Like, Steve Kim gave if I remember correctly, out of the first 5, he gave 4 to Gonzalez, and you disagree with that. So it must have been a very difficult score. Both of you gave it to Gonzalez, but like, you gave him completely different rounds. I'm sure you agreed here and there, but at the same time, you didn't. So it must have been a very difficult. But to me, Gonzalez, more so than the other guy, put the pressure on, pushed them back, and his punches were just a little bit better, cleaner, and maybe more of them in enough rounds to have garnered the decision. This is how I feel right now. Let me watch it again tonight.
You would say that Gonzalez was more the ring general, right? Like he controlled the pace more. Like he was, you know what I'm saying? Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah, but Estrada also had rounds where he was the ring general, and then there were rounds where like he was countering, going back a little bit too. And man, but if I had to pick one guy over the course of 12 rounds, yeah, it was Gonzalez.
7-5. That's how I scored it. Same as you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a close fight. What do you guys make of Precise? What do you make of Roman saying he thought he did enough to win or a draw? He thought the fight could have been a draw. This is coming from Roman.
It was that kind of a fight, but he also said Jose Feliciano was scoring the fight.
Maybe he meant the draw, meaning like at least a draw. You know what I mean? Was he being like sarcastic, saying, you know what I mean, that at least give me the draw?
Man. You got to take that into account. He's a very, very...
Yeah, he was crying after the fight, saying, "Thank you, everybody, for being here. Like, I love you all." It was pretty.
I think he was being sarcastic. I think he was being sarcastic.
Well, I told you the story about how fucking
humble. You know, like just trying to show him some credit. Hey, you know, maybe at least a draw.
Well, you guys ever hear the story about Alexis Arguello giving him a smack, or it was some shit right after he either won the championship or won the nationals for his country? I guess Chocolatito told the story like he got full of himself, which is, how can any of you not? You know what I mean? And it was, I guess Alexis was mad at him. He didn't know why, and then he finally blew up on him and says, "Who do you think you are, dude? Don't forget who you are, where you come from.
Right.
Because these people are going to be the ones who are in your life when this is all done." You know what I mean? Like, and he said a really, and there's an awesome picture too. It's you can tell they've probably been drinking, but it shows Alexis Arguello kissing him on the cheek and fucking Roman's laughing. I'll send it in the link if you guys haven't seen it. It's an awesome picture.
Yeah, they mentioned that he walked into the gym and Arguello told him, "Go back out there on the floor and tell everybody hi. Say hi to everyone as if you were like you used to a week ago before you won the title." But one thing also about Gonzalez is he said, I think I saw that clip today where he said, "I disagree with the decision," but I think he said something along the line. But it is what it is. Like, what are you gonna do about it?
Estrada, I don't know if you guys caught it, but Estrada also said it was a draw. I don't know if he was just being diplomatic, but he did say that.
I'd have to find exactly what he said. Actually, I have hold on, I think I have it here. Controversy. Well, you guys keep going. Well, Raul, what about you? What are your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, fucking really close fight. I didn't score as I was watching it. I just kind of, went by the eye, tried to just enjoy it for what it was. Dude, like, fights like this, they're amazing, but it almost gets a little bit tough to watch. Not like in a sense of like it's brutal, but it's just so much going on. It like kind of burns you out a little. You're like, shit, like trying to keep up. You get tired.
Mm-hmm. Hey, would you be happy if they threw 500 less punches and put more on them?
Yes.
Maybe not 500 less. Maybe not 500 less. But and just put a little space between the punches, a little time to, like think out and absorb what's going on. It's just from an entertainment standpoint, but it was a fucking incredible fight nonetheless. And I do think Gonzalez pulled it off. My impression right off the bat was Estrada like came in really confident and he started catching a couple shots and he gained, Gonzalez gains his respect real quick. At the end of the fight, Gonzalez was kicking his ass, and if I think it went, 3 more rounds, old school 15, he would have knocked him out maybe.
You know what?
A little bit.
There's a documentary called Fight World. I think it's Fight World. Where with that, do you remember that guy that was in the Purge 2, the guy that looks like the Punisher from the comic books? Anyway, he goes around the world. Yeah, he goes around the world and he visits all these countries where they have a national martial art. So he went to Mexico for the boxing, and then he went to Thailand for the Thai boxing. And they do an interesting thing there where they'll match one guy against a guy who's heavier, just to make things interesting with the betting, because it's all about the betting over there, which is like boxing too over here. It's just not talked about as much. And they will also do something where if the fight's too close to call, they'll talk to both fighters in between the corners and go, one more round, because people are betting. They say, yeah, fine, let's make it. I think they should. I know they're never going to do that with boxing because it's too regulated, but wouldn't it be fun if we had something like that for this type of fight where they go, you know what, 2 more rounds, 3 more rounds, Yeah.
Feed this PC culture never.
Yeah.
That's why they got rid of the 50. That's why they used to call them the championship rounds. Fucking, I'm telling you guys, man, you guys missed a good era, 15. Man. 15, yeah, man, that was a good era, man. When those extra 3 rounds, mates, I hated it. I was so pissed when they went to fucking 12.
Yeah, me too.
And it doesn't even.
How many lives do you think it saved though? Because if the justification was we got to make it shorter because guys are dying.
Actually, honestly, I think the deaths were more. And look what they did. They changed the same day weigh-ins. Like you would weigh yourself in the morning and then fight that night. So now these kids have learned to manipulate that to the point where they're next to death the day before, and then they just carb up all night while they're sleeping, and it's become a technique. But yeah, this guy's looking just as you could put this way, you wouldn't see guys come to the scale ashy colored because they've sucked all the vitamins out of their body, went through a sauna, they fucking just look like walking death. You think they're gonna step in the ring that night and fight? So
I don't understand.
Now weight bullying has become a fucking issue that it wasn't before, because guys who would only fight at 160 are now fighting sometimes, in some cases, welterweight because they've learned to manipulate that weigh-in process. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it saved any lives, actually.
Yeah, to go that 15 rounds, you gotta like just be at your optimum. You can't try to do no fuck shit like, all right, I'm gonna cut a lot of weight and try to make it. It might fuck you up in the distance.
Now, listen, people in the chat room are saying, some people, like Jack Miles says, thousands of people have died yesterday and no one cares. What about that? I mean, because we talk about boxing, when somebody dies, it becomes a tragedy, but I mean, how much time out of your day does it take when a boxer dies? You know what I mean? Like, isn't it...
Wait, is he saying abstractly 1,000 people, or was there an incident?
No, abstractly, I believe. But look at Hagler. Like Steve Kim said, it's affected me, and I'd say the same thing. Like, hasn't been a death since my dad, 2015. It's a fact. I mean, like, I was crushed last night. I was told in a supermarket, I had a fucking carriage full of groceries. And he told me, man, I just fucking stood there stone stupid, and I just walked the fuck out, got in my car, and had myself a little bit of a fucking, session, wiped the tears out of my eyes, and drove the fuck home. It's like, he was such an intricate part of my childhood, man. It's like, I just can't even put my, words. I don't have that literary fucking vocabulary to put it elegantly, so I just won't. But anyways, it crushed me when I heard that.
Would you like, Jimmy, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to try to do that. My battery's about to die, so I have to go anyway. And I'd like to sign off paying an homage to one of my heroes, if you guys don't mind.
Absolutely.
He embodied what hard work, determination, and self-belief will do if you dedicate yourself to something. He wasn't ranked. He wasn't a top amateur. He did it all through blood, sweat, tears, and loyalty. And just like you and Steve Kim said, he did it in loyalty in ways that people don't do anymore. He never had a contract with these people, and he just felt like he owed them because they did something for him, so he did something back for them. He was a huge credit to the sport. He was a gentleman in and out of the ring. He never cried. He cried I mean, someone could say maybe he cried after the regular loss, but I think that was the chip on his shoulder for how he won the title. Like Stu said, they threw bottles at him. The sport that he gave so much to didn't always pay it back to him, and I think this is a good time for us to pay it to him Let his family know if they hear this that we love him, that we miss him, that he meant a lot to us. And I'm out on that. Good night, guys.
Salute, brother.
Take it easy,
Excellent. Well
Jay.
said.
Thank you for being on.
That was real nice.
Yeah, eloquently said, man. Absolutely. Listen, boxers, if they give it their all, even after they retire, fans will love them. I mean, there are certain fighters, they still go, like Fernando Vargas. You know, he wasn't exact. I know Jay disliked the guy, but he was a bit of an asshole himself. But the way he fought in there, Vargas, he goes to any fight venue nowadays. Everybody's congregates around him saying, hey, they want to shake his hand, take photos. There was something about the guy, his fighting spirit. So definitely the way fighters perform, it is an investment. Like if you just want to focus on the money, hey, let me throw one shot at a time, and just win no matter how it looks, then that's your prerogative. But don't expect fans to flock towards you after your career is done. It's just it's up to the fighters to decide how they want to be remembered to a certain degree.
When the fighters put it this way, you know who they are. When fighters put their number one onus on the money above fans' opinion, above everything. Exactly. You're going to be forgotten as fast as you're fucking, you know what I mean? Like a fart in the wind, dude. You think when Keith Thurman retires, will that make even a bump? Will anybody care?
You know
People
what?
like him? Come on.
Yeah, that's it's on them. Look, Mayweather now, I hear he's getting a hair transplant, I think, which, it's indicative of, hey, look, if you're losing your hair, let it go, man. Don't try to hold back to the past. But so that's what I'm saying is with Mayweather, it just seems to me like maybe he's got, he still has that. I think he still feels like that little kid who was being told to box by his father. You know what I mean? And he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Did he tweet anything yesterday? If not yesterday, today. It'd be shocking to see any big boxing event go by without him trying to fucking
No, he did
snatch.
tweet something. He did tweet something. He said,
Marvin
Hagler never did anything for me.
What did he say?
He said, Marvin Hagler never did anything for me.
No, he didn't say that. Shut up. Oh, you bastard. You motherfucker. Oh, dude.
Why did
fucking-
Mayweather wait so long? That's my question. Why did he wait so long to get his hair?
Mayweather?
Yeah, exactly. He's
I don't know.
He's gone totally bald, like shining like a diamond, head shaved. Like you don't see people go from that extreme to all right, I got hair again.
Well, it's a rumor,
It's kind
I
of
heard.
a commitment when you start shaving your head.
Right, that's just
Yeah,
a
there's
rumor.
that
I've heard.
rumor going around that he put some like chia pet shit on his hair. Yeah, I don't know what to call it, but think of like the chia pet. You know when whatever they do, you pour some water on it, and your fucking hair starts to grow. It looks like that's what's happening there. It's weird.
It's like young Floyd is gonna come back. Like,
But can I say something about Mayweather not mentioning anything about Tommy Hearns passing? I don't fault him for that. I'm not gonna disparage him for that because I mean, look, if the guy wants to say something, he wants to say something. If he doesn't, he does. I don't think he's under any just because
He
they're
didn't like Marvin Hagler. Maybe they didn't like each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying maybe his dad, who's closer to age to Marvin Hagler, maybe there was some issue there. Maybe Hagler passed him and said, "You a bitch," and like ever since then. There was a problem between them, you know what I'm saying? You never know, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if fucking a porn star passes away, do I have to bring it up because we used to be in the same line of business at some point? No, man, I'm not under an obligation to do that. And I think
this is guy who died from my old neighborhood. I didn't like this person. I did not like that person at all, and he was pretty popular from my area. He was a very popular dude, but I wasn't even. I got like this invite. I'm like, dude, do you know who you're sending the invite to? Like me and this dude hate each other. Okay, we literally we literally. I don't want to indict myself, but we literally really. Let's put it this way: if we saw each other drowning, it'll be like, ah, fuck that motherfucker.
Oh,
you know, that's it.
What type of person are you, man?
But why? I'm like, why are you guys sending me this invite? Like, I don't care about him. I'm not saying I wish him dead. I mean,
what was it an invite to?
To his funeral, to his wake. Excuse me. To his wake. Like, no, I'm not going over to celebrate. This dude would be like, why do you have him here? Okay, I mean, we were in our 20s when all this happened, and now we're in our late 40s, but I'm pretty sure he wouldn't want me around. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Well, maybe you could have went then. You could have went there when you hit. When you got up to say your prayer over the casket. You could have looked at him and said, "I won."
Oh, jeez.
All right. That was low rent.
I'm just listen, man. I wasn't gonna be a hypocrite, and like the guy looked like he changed his life like me. Like in terms of like I'm not saying we were fucking like I was like fucking Pablo Escobar or some shit like that. But what I'm saying is, it looked like in his later years, or to the day he died, he looked like he was doing good. He was like, giving charity to like stuff around our neighborhoods, right? To like little basketball leagues, baseball league, and shit like that. So I respect him, but don't send me this invite thinking I'm just gonna forget some of the shit that happened between us. Like, nah.
Well, you're not going to be. It's not a lot of professional fighters today aren't going to like praise him because he's been very vocal in his dislike for the way they're treating the sport. I mean, like when he did an occasional interview, he just didn't even want to talk about the fighters today. He just thinks they're a clown show. You know what I mean? There's bullshit like Steve said about the way that. Whatever side you're on, who you think is going to win the fight, regardless, the fact that they're not fighting Crawford and fucking Spence is just ridiculous. And again, there's no other. It's actually gone to the point now. I think it doesn't even make the money it would have a year ago. But it's an indictment on the sport.
Well, listen, it's he passed away. He was a good fighter, but you know what? That's the circle of life, man. People go away. People come in, people go, and you try to make the best of it.
He was like the fucking evil guy too. And even the place he trained, I could tell you, he used to train and he'd wear this. It was a cut-off sweatshirt, right, sleeveless with a hood. It was a thin cotton material, but it covered kind of his face. And that same herky-jerky motion he was doing all the time, man. It was crazy. He would bend. They had a 120-pound leather, black leather fucking heavy bag in the middle of Petroselli's gym there. And he would crack that fucking thing. And it was those, you remember in the old schools where they have those long plank, thin fucking floors, hardwood floors? Mm-hmm. It was that style. And the whole fucking floor would shake when he would crack it, boom, and the bag would snap literally in half. Like he put some fucking work on that thing, and he would hit it. Crazy. The whole 3 minutes he was go, boom, boom, boom. Then he would hit that, the sound go off, and then he would go over at half the time. He wouldn't even stand still. He'd jump rope between hitting the bag. This dude trained like fucking, like, it was crazy. We would go down and just in awe to see the work he put in. Sit-ups. He had a dude sitting on it. He would hang off the edge of the fucking, the ring, right, and have his trainer sitting up on his shins, holding his knees, so he's fully planked off the fucking thing. He'd go all the way back, all the way down, and have a dude sitting there, whop, 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 whop. Another dude just pounding on his midsection on the way up. Like hell, man. He would call it, he'd say, going to fucking hell. That's what he'd call it.
Jimmy, what age did Hagler start boxing?
What's that? It was actually later in life. It wasn't, he fucked around with it when he was a kid, but then he came in Petroselli gyms, and he had fucking holes in his sneakers and shit. He says, I want to be world champion. Listen, he was a very angry dude. He got fucked over by the people in his life that shouldn't have fucked him over when he was a kid. You know what I mean? I guess, issues with his dad or whatever.
Yeah, chip on his shoulder.
Very big.
He turned pro at 18?
He turned pro at 18, yeah, and he retired at the age of 33.
33, yeah.
He was the early starter, damn.
And that's why he had such a, he held the Petrosellis in such high regard. Again, because you got to think of the culture of the day, 1969. A lot of shit with the Black Panthers going along, and here was a black kid coming up from fucking Philadelphia, and they were like fucking, they took him right into the home, they gave him a place to live, put him on the work on the fucking, like you said, I never forgot that. When the people who were supposed to look out for me didn't look out for me, these motherfuckers did, and they knew, they saw it in him. They saw how hard he'd work in cold days. He wasn't bitching. He didn't complain. I think that's a lot of the reasons why they, maybe had him put him on a work crew like that. That see what, it shows a lot of character. But yeah, no, he was a special fighter, man.
Well, listen, only in boxing do you get characters like that, man. And only in boxing do you get statements where people make excuses for every little thing under the sun. I don't know if you guys heard, but we were talking about earlier, Keith Thurman throwing aspersions out there saying, hey, there was no testing with Pacquiao, and when he hit me, his hands felt like cement, so make it that.
Oh, okay, so the 41-year-old took steroids to beat you. You sound like a dink. You know what I mean? Even if he did, he's a fucking dude, should be a fucking featherweight. I'm sorry, Franciso.
Just for the record, guys. Keith Thurman and the Kevin Ione interview, because that's how dumb he is. is basically not basically. He is literally admitting to taking PEDs.
What?
He did a Kevin Iole. Yeah, he did a Kevin Iole interview 4 years ago. I guess he
He's
didn't know that
basically admitting, yeah,
cortisol.
yeah.
I guess he didn't know that cortisol is a PED.
It's a
Now maybe he
PED.
had a TUE for it. I don't know, but like, yeah, he's literally admitting it, and it makes sense when you look at because it's a protein. It makes your body burn protein to sugar for energy. And when you look at Keith Thurman's build, like, yeah, he's an athlete. He probably lifts weight, like, but when you look at his muscle mass in the chest, you see that he's burning up muscle to weight. How's he doing that? Cortisol. It's like, it's one of the ingredients that was part of Lance Armstrong, basically, right? They
Well,
build up
isn't it
muscle.
it's in the steroid family, isn't it?
It's a corticosteroid, yeah. Yeah, it's not an anabolic steroid. It's a catabolic steroid. It turns muscle into glucose for energy. Well, that's one of the. It also helps it with inflammation and blah 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 blah. Yeah. But if you would like what Armstrong would do is he would take HGH and some kind of maybe testosterone, build up muscle, and then during the races he would take cortisol. So he would literally, while he was on the bicycle, he was turning protein, muscle, to glucose, energy. So it's just, he just didn't, I guess he just didn't understand it, or he had a TUE, he didn't know it was, but he's literally on there admitting that he takes PEDs. So, and I don't care, I'm just saying, like, for him to come out and throw shade at Pacquiao like that.
Right, without
this is the
proof,
thing with
man.
all
That's
these guys
yeah.
that point the finger, man. All these guys that point the finger, you best believe they're on.
Yep. That's the way to do it. You see, a person that's not doing anything, if you ask them, do you think that guy's doing steroids? They'll just be like, I don't know that. I wouldn't know that. That's it. That's a guy you could tell he's clean, or at least he's clean. He's clear-minded to the point where you have to start saying, maybe he doesn't know, he doesn't answer it because he doesn't fuck with it, so he's not gonna answer for somebody else. But these dudes that be like, oh yeah, that guy's on it, or this guy's on it. Those are the ones. Those are the ones. It's like that fucking dude that goes to he knows that you and your old lady are having problems. He's like, oh yeah, your man be cheating. But what the fuck do you think he's doing? Like that guy, he probably has a side girlfriend that's trying to get with your girl that you're on the rocks with. It's the same. It's the same it's the same theory with these people. Cheaters accuse other people of cheating. That's what they do.
It goes almost in every aspect of life, man.
Yeah, of course
You know what I mean? It's like you're always you're accused of people of what you're doing. It's in this victimhood culture too. Like, even with Wilder, like even if there was even a speck of fucking evidence to anything he said, you just wouldn't act like this. You wouldn't want people to think of you like this. Like when you say, okay, you might make these outrageous claims. First off, you've already proven you take anybody to court in a second. Severy Finkel, remember they sued Povetkin. They try to sue everybody. But suddenly now a guy beat your skull in. You know what I mean? But you won't take him to court. So it's just so. But again, it's the light he made himself look in. Instead of being looked at like, wow, dude, you look kind of soft right now, man, and weaselly. It's the victims now, or like they get that status. It's just disgusting across the board.
Absolutely, man. It's listen, this guy, like what happened with Keith Thurman was this, man. He was confident, supremely confident. He was undefeated. He said, finally I'm gonna get that great name on my record. And he ended up getting beaten up by a 40-year-old. I mean, look, I'm one of the people that thought the fight was closer than most people say. Oh, Pacquiao won, no doubt about it. I thought it was pretty razor thin, man. I thought Pacquiao slowed down, but he ended up winning, and I think Keith Thurman still hasn't forgotten about it, and will never forget about it because he'll never get a rematch. He'll never get a chance to do that. So
when you lose to a 40-year-old dude, it wipes out everything you've done. A 40-year-old who's honestly should be fighting 2 weights below that. It's really anytime I think of Keith Thurman now, I'll think of, you're the dude, the undefeated dude that the guy on the fucking mercenary make money tour picked to beat up on. Yeah. You and Broner.
I like that look that Pacquiao gave him as soon as they got in the fucking middle of the ring. And he was just like, oh, yeah, you've been making fun of me. I'm smiling. I'm gonna fuck you up now. Now it's time to beat you up.
Yeah, now when the time
Didn't
comes
he
in.
drop him?
Dude, he beat. Listen, I don't care what any of you guys say.
Wait a minute.
You can't give him more than 4 rounds. He beat the shit out of.
You gotta care a
He
little.
beat the crap out of Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman was on the run. He was NORE. Get what I'm saying?
No, I actually don't know what that means, but listen.
Oh my god!
You want me to say it? You want me to say it?
Say it.
He was a nigga on the run eating.
Oh, well, I think Recognize can say that, but you know what? I'd never heard of that before, by the way. I'd never heard of that. No worry. That's why I now understand why Revolution was like, oh, don't. But hey, listen. I think at this point, nobody's listening anymore.
It's a little Queens thing. It ain't nothing.
Queens. Jamaica Queens? Or?
No. I mean, never mind. Go ahead.
All right. Well, listen, fellas. I think we got a lot of cover today. We had to do 2 shows in a row just for the Chocolatito thing. Hold on. What do we got next week? I think it's next week. It's
Is Precise still on the phone?
Yeah, I think he's still here. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask him, what did he think of Benavidez last night? What did he think of his performance? Did he see it yet?
His silence means to go fuck yourself.
I guess so. All right, man. Cool.
Yeah, type of language precise is not necessary, man. Come on. You don't got to treat Jimmy like that.
Hey, watch it. Look, man. I didn't see the fight, but I thought it was a great performance.
All right, well, listen.
Where did you catch the highlights?
Nah, he's joking.
He's joking around.
Boys, stick around on the Discord. I got a little bonus, little after party bonus. I'm gonna show y'all after the show.
Right.
Better be a nice pair of tits. Shout out to Truth Son, who says, I agree with Recognize on Thurman and Canelo. Well, there you have it. Shout out to Truth Sons for his contribution. Yeah, like I said, next week, Beterbiev versus Adam Daines. I think that's how you say it. Daines. You also have Virgil Ortiz versus Hooker on the zone. The undercard is Pablo Cesar Cano versus Jonathan Navarro. And then afterward, Coley versus Glowacki. So it's going to be a jam-packed Saturday, next Saturday. From San Juan, Puerto Rico, you get Amanda Serrano versus Daniela Bermudez. And then on the March the 27th, Povetkin versus Dylan White, the rematch. That should be so a nice little March there. The rest of March for everybody. And yeah, that's about it. Listen, fellas, thank you for joining us. I'm going to stick around. Don't forget to stick around for the Revolucion's tidbits. And that's about it. Listen, everybody that donated for the super chat, really appreciate it. I'm talking about, who am I talking about? Recognize, shout out to Recognize, King Frog, Michael Poe, thank you for calling in as well. Chris K, Truth Sons, and Slugga Sam for his contributions as well. Shout out to Slugga Sam. We gotta put up a little video of his that he gave us. He made a little compilation. His views do not reflect the beat organization, by the way. But and by the way, shout out to Steve Kim for calling in. A very nice surprise on a Sunday evening. So shout out to everybody out there. Thank you everybody for joining us. Shout out to Danny the Great, who's going after Hucker Mustang in the chat. Hucker Mustang, Jonathan Morrison, Stoing, T-Tone Toledo, and everybody else, guys. Thank you for joining us. Catch you on the next one. See ya. Take it easy.
Peace.